that's the case. There may be something else after that, depending on how long it takes. We'll see what happens. But thank you all for joining us. Make sure to hit the like button, share it out, and don't forget to hop on over to Mama Bear's side of things. Hit the like button over there as well and share that. If you're not subscribed, please do. And hit that notification bell. You don't want to miss a thing. That being said, you know the deal. And here it goes. Hello.
Hello.
Good afternoon. How are you, Miss Bear?
I'm really good today.
You sound good. That's awesome. Are you
Yeah,
rested?
I think so.
Well, good.
I
Now
found
you
some
feel good.
caffeine today too, so that helps.
Oh boy. Now we're going to be on the same boat, floating out like crazy people, right? Yeah. I feel like Animal from the Muppets right now. 6 cups in. I know. Oh Jesus. And my mother's in here. I'm going to get a lecture. I hear it already. Oh boy. Welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you're having a great start to your week. I hope you all had an amazing weekend. I want to thank everybody that joined us over the weekend for the marathon show. First and foremost, it was amazing. Yeah, and so much information was passed around that day, so much insight put out, and so much learned from that show. It was amazing. I loved it, and I appreciate everybody that was there for it. We got 15 peeps in the house right now, 17 likes. That's pretty good. So let's keep that going, guys. I appreciate that very much. And again, please don't forget to hop on over to Mama Bear side of things. Hit the like button at the very least. If you have not yet subscribed, please do that. And don't forget that notification bell. As I always say, thank you all so very much. Excuse me. Actually, this is my number 6, but they weren't full cups, so I'll give you that. I dropped my on the Keurig, you have the cup size thing. You hit different sizes. I dropped it down to like this much per cup. So, well, for this cup, it's like a normal size cup of coffee then. So that's what I've been doing. So it's probably like having 3 cups.
Oh boy.
It's not bad. I'm not that bad. I promise. I didn't want to get up today though. I was up late again watching something. The heck were we watching? We were some kind of true crime something. I can't remember. That's all Brandy wants to watch when she's here. I was watching a cartoon for a little while and she dozed off and woke back up because she had a long day yesterday. She had that baby shower thing. She fell asleep and woke up and come over and sat down next to me and snuggled into me for a minute. And she's like, "Can you put on some true crime?" And I was like, "Can you watch something else for a change?" She was like, "You're telling me to watch something else when that's your whole life." And I was like, "That's why I'm asking you if we can watch something else." But hey, it's all right. We found something good. We usually fall asleep watching Dateline or 48 Hours. So that's what we watched. Welcome everybody. Who do we have here this morning? Miss SR. Beep, 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 beep. Miss Cassie's in the house and so sassy that she is. Good to see you. Miss Stormy, welcome back. Good to see you. Captain Jenks, my brother, welcome back to you as well. Licity J, oh my lord, it's wonderful to see you. Good to have you here today. Been a while. Welcome back. Elisa, oh boy. That sounded too much like Alicia. And remember how she used to cuss us for that? Alicia.
Yep.
Welcome, Alicia. Sorry. Wonderful to see you this morning. Thank you to all of my blue crew for being here as always. See, there it is right there. She was quick too. The finger went ping.
Cassie said, "Slow down."
I'm trying, guys. I'm trying. Where is it? Where was
Squirrel.
I? Back up to the top. Licity J, Captain Jenks, SRB, B, Miss Wisdom. The infinite wisdom speaks in the house. Thank you for joining us, ma'am. Wonderful to see you today. Let's see. Yes, Miss Charlotte, welcome back. Great to see you today. One made nut. I almost did that. You weren't here the other day. The same thing I said that one time with Eddie. It started to come out. I caught myself though. It started to come out and I caught it. I have to slow down when I talk. Welcome, Eddie. Good to see you, buddy.
Yeah.
Brandy B, the OG. Welcome back, dear. Good to see you today. Hold on, guys. The Karma Police are in the house, everybody. Please behave. We don't need nobody going out in cuffs today. Please, please.
Damn it.
Oh, okay. Mark Schumann, welcome back, my friend. Good to see you today. And of course, to my lovely mother, hello and welcome. Good morning, Mama. Good to see you today. Thank you for joining us. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Miss Paula Fitzhenry, welcome back to you. Good to see you. Thank you for joining us today. And guys, again, please, pretty please, with icing on top, please jump over to Mom Bear's side, hit the like button, share it out, subscribe if you have not, and please hit the notification bell. Thank you. Miss Leslie, wonderful to see you, love. Thank you for being here today. We appreciate you so much for joining us today. I think I got everybody so far. I think if I happen to miss you, I promise you I will come back around and hit you once I see you.
Gosh, dang it. How did I do that?
What did you did?
Somehow I did it under. Shoot.
Under my name?
Yeah.
Okay. That's okay. Nalaquelo se la yo in the morning. We're both up there. Okay. How did you do that?
Oh, I was playing around. I had a brain fart. Not a brain fart, but I had a thought. There we go. An idea on how to fix the streaming thing. So I was in there playing and
Oh.
I must have logged in. Well, I was still under yours. I didn't switch back when I jumped on.
It's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. Yes, she did, Cassie. That alarmed me a little too. It's funny to hear it with her little tiny little voice when she does it. Shoot shit.
That'd be messy.
By the way, yeah, that would be messy. Make sure that if we can drop the TikTok link, the Facebook link, guys, we are now linked via YouTube. No thanks to Mama Bear and the rest of the crew. Spent hours with me trying to fix this stuff yesterday.
That's better.
It is all together now. So we have the TikTok link to the YouTube now, the YouTube and the Facebook LinkedIn. So we have all those things out there. So please make sure to follow the YouTube, or I'm sorry, the Facebook and the TikTok. Miss Sherry Wisdom Speaks does amazing things with the Facebook, and Miss Brandy does amazing things with the TikTok, guys. So please check them both out. There's Miss Tater. Welcome, Miss Taylor. Good to see you today. Thank you for joining us. There's the link for the Facebook. Thank you, Cass. I got my first
Taylor
troll.
said the S word too.
Uh-oh. Is it swear day?
I guess so. She said, "Oh shit, I'm green."
Oh shit. You did get gifted. We were gifted. We got 15 new meatballs yesterday, I think it was, didn't we?
Yep. It might have been even 16 because I think somebody can't remember who.
Yeah, 16. You finally got your green, Taylor. Finally, she's been trying to get this membership for like 3, 4, or 5 months. It finally happened. So, morning, Tommy G. Welcome back, brother. Good to see you today. Thank you for joining us. There's our TikTok. Thank you, Brandy. Please check that out as well. Make sure you follow it, guys. Like I said, Brandy does amazing things, and Miss Sherry's doing some awesome things with our Facebook now. Please check them both out. Yes, SRB gifted and Stormy gifted, and I'm gifted. I'm not sure who else. Everybody gifted. Captain Jenks dropping the first super chat of the day. Thank you, sir. Special shout out to Stormy, Cassie, Alicia for the help on Discord today. You ladies rock. Thank you so much, Cap. And they do. They're very good at helping you with anything you need. So, and I'm glad to see you in the Discord, Cap. Grateful to have you there, brother. All of you that are in there, I appreciate you all so very much. Has anybody heard of Brianna Maitland and her missing case?
I don't think so.
But
then I say that, and then it starts playing, and I'm like, oh yeah, I know this one.
It's the one. It's out of Vermont. Okay. Yes. Thank you so much, Kat, for the donation. That's so very generous and gracious of you, my friend. It's out of Vermont, where my mother threatened to send me all the time when I was a child. We're going to send you to Vermont, the people that don't know you. It was a joke, but that's how she would get to us. You're going to Vermont. But this is where this one is out of. And it's been attributed to possibly being linked to Maura Mori's case, which you guys know I'm obsessed with that one. There is no link that's been found, but it's in the same realm, from the same area, around the same time. One moment, everybody. Abu Dhabi. Bless you. I think. Hello, Miss Brandy. So, yeah, this one is strange. It's the one, I think you guys have seen the picture. We've gone through different photos and stuff, but it's the one where you see the station wagon backed up to the house or that building. It's a silver old station wagon, I think. But anyway, it's that case. It's kind of interesting. We may have another to look at too.
Hello, Mama Ruth. And she said, no, that was Kiski Military Academy.
Oh, sorry, Mom. I do remember hearing Vermont somewhere, but okay. Yeah, that she actually truly thought of that, I think, for real though. It's wonderful to see you, Mommy. Thank you for joining us today. Hope you're having a great day and had a great weekend. And I know the next thing that's going to come out of her mouth is going to be, you'd know that if you'd call your mother. Watch. Who wants to place bets? I was not terrible. I was very, very ADHD. So yeah, it was terrible. That's terrible. I gave her a run for her money. That's for damn sure. It was rough. I got to give her credit. She did amazing considering how hard I was to deal with. I can't imagine it. I was worse than Caden. And Caden was rough. So we'll just put it that way. No, not every day, because my brain, it doesn't tell me to. It needs to be a little bit more interactive with the rest of me to tell me to call. But I got so much stuff going on between this and my house, and I forget things all the time. So
did you make a note to check on Miriam?
I did look into she's still going. So God bless her. I hope something happens with that case soon. I do. No, I don't, Mom. I know. I admit to it. I'm wrong. I'm sorry.
I don't mind either.
Well, I should.
My mom's 10 minutes away from me.
I should do it more. I know that. Let's see here.
Say hi to Wisdom.
Miss Wisdom, hello. I did say hi to her, didn't I? When she first came in, or no? I'm sorry, Miss Wisdom. I called her.
I don't know.
The
That's the first
infinite
time I saw
wisdom
her.
speaks. Oh, I saw her. But anyway, I'll say it again. She deserves that. Hello again, Miss Wisdom. Wonderful to have you here. Hope you had a wonderful weekend. Appreciate you being here. But this Maitland case is very weird. And I may have another one. If depending on the time we have, which we probably will have it. That is there's a few that I was looking at last night that are really strange. She said you did. I changed sides. You see, she's messing with my mind.
It's fun.
It's okay. It's okay. That's okay. Eric the Great. Hello. We need a president and vice president that import their women.
Excuse me?
Okay. I don't know what that means, but I do love the nicknames on here. You like those, Miss Paula? Yeah, I don't know what that. I don't know if that's some form of a joke or whatever, but I don't think it's too funny. But that's me. Let me check something. Okay.
Hey, tomboy.
Caden is on spring break. How about that, Bear?
Ha, told you.
You were right.
He said Americans are the type of people that grow marijuana indoors just to complain about power outages or fires created by them in dead firemen. This is a manless wonder of a swamp. What?
Okay. Okay. On we
Yep.
go. Thank you for joining us. So, anything exciting and new for you, Mama Bear, before we get rolling?
Nope.
Mm-hmm.
Cassie.
Caden. Mimi said hi to you.
Who?
Your grandmother?
Oh, you said somebody else.
See?
Hi, Grandma.
Have you called her?
No, I've been busy.
Mm-hmm. Putting you on the spot. You need to call her. There you go. Right there, Mom. I did it right in front of you. So
Is this your way of getting back at me?
no, this is my way of proving that I tell you to call her and you're
Do
busy.
you call her?
Yes, I do.
When?
When I call her.
When was the last time you called her?
A couple days, few days, a while
A
ago.
few months ago?
No, it wasn't months. Hey, Molly.
Hey, Molly.
See? There it is, Mom. Did it. It's done. Again.
Put me on the spot.
Again. He's been busy with his church. He goes to church a lot and he goes and does these afternoon, evening things that they do. He's been doing a lot with the church and stuff. So when he's really not been here a whole lot. So yes, now we know. You know, Molly, we were looking for you all weekend, right?
Yeah, I talked to her.
Okay. Well, just so she knows.
Molly said, get back here and say hi, Caden.
I'm here, Caden. Hurry up. Just for a second. Molly said hello and wants you to say hi.
Hi-lo. Hilo. Get back here and say hi. I try, but you know.
Just say hi to everybody.
Hello, people of the world.
Hello, Caden.
Okay. All right. Now you can go back to what you're doing.
Okay.
There we go. Hopefully you feel better. Sally Shepherdson, welcome. Good to see you. Can a person like Cyray tell us who real killers might be. Probably not Sally. I really don't think so. Cy deals with cast reports and cell tower type stuff, so they're really not going to know who did what.
Tech digital type.
Yeah, but what he can do is he can place the person that's in custody for this, and if he was there in that area, there or not there. So that's kind of important. Good morning and afternoon, Michelle Weddle. In Stitches, welcome. Good to see you. 37 peeps in the house, 26 likes, guys. Let's see if we can make that match. If you
Hello,
can.
Michelle and In Stitches.
You leaving, Mama? Well, thank you for being here. I love you. I will talk to you soon. That I promise.
Bye, Mama Ruth. Have a good day.
Be careful, Mother, if you leave the house, please. Much love to you. Bye-bye. Rook T407, thank you for joining us. Good to see you today. What up? I love my mommy. I do need to call her more, though. She's getting up there in age, and I need to call her more. I used to, at one point, I did call her every morning, but I got wrapped up in life, and it just doesn't happen like that anymore. But I probably should get back to that. Ginzal, there she is. I love it.
Hey,
Good
Simply
morning.
Solo.
Simply. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you guys are, whatever it is. I hope it's good for you because it's great to be with you guys today, as always. I will, Cassie. I promise. You better start listening to yours.
Mm-hmm.
Cassie, you need to go visit your mama more often. Come home and say, hi, Mom. Here's the kids. See them? She needs to see them babies more often. Oh, it's a thing. We all do it. We need to.
Yep.
Yins. I love when she says that, Chin. Hi, Yins all. Simply is awesome. Keep it up, and I will, and I'll come whoop your. Bring it. You know what, Cass? Come on. I'll have my dolls whoop your ass since I got doll. Let's go there, Princess. I got you. Go see your mama. Take them babies to see their grandmother.
SRB said, "Ha, maybe when hell freezes over."
She's threatening me, SRB. She said, yourself. Whatever.
All right, Sally's wanting to find out who Brianna is and what happened to her.
And that's what we're going to do. Just wanted to loosen everybody up in here. It's great to have you here, Sally. You know I love you, Cass. I'm just teasing you. So Brianna Maitland is a story, like I said, it's happened in the Vermont area. That's a lot. It's been, like I said, it's been accredited to being a lot like what Maura Murray's case was. As you all know, I've covered her case pretty deep. There's little things within this case with Brianna that kind of match up to how there were those little things in Maura's case. Same area, same around the same time, and a lot of the same stuff, like I said. So, which is probably why it caught my attention. So, let's get things up and loaded, running, moving. Because people don't want to hear me talking no more. I get it. I'm being biased. Everybody knows this. Don't hold me to this 100%. But being that the child's here for 5 or 6 days, I might get this moved around since there's 2 of us here. So we'll see. All right, let me load everything in, guys, and let's get to moving. Hold on. As always, I'm going to start off with a news break on this, and then we'll go into the other steps.
SRB said, Dago, did you ever watch that stuff I sent you on updates in the Maura case?
I did. PJ told me some stuff was going on, too, that there's a suspect that they may have. So we're going to have to revisit Maura's case. in my opinion. Hold on. And as always, everybody, please make sure to let me know how the audio is working and if there's any issues with any of that. Again, thank you all for joining us today.
Channel 5's Mia Moran is going to join us live from the scene in Montgomery with more on this latest search. Mia, here's the question. Why are they out there today?
Well, Gus, detectives say there's no special reason they were back out here in Montgomery searching for signs of Brianna Maitland in the fields and along the riverbank. They say they're actively investigating her disappearance despite uncovering little in the case in the past 5 years. Hoping to find new clues, rescue teams from the state police resumed their search for Brianna Maitland, a Franklin County teenager who vanished on a cold night in March of 2004. They combed cornfields in the town of Montgomery, where her car was found backed into the side of an abandoned house the morning after her disappearance. Police believe Maitland was the victim of foul play.
When we conduct these searches, we're always hopeful that we're going to find evidence, and evidence that will help us answer any questions that we have unanswered, which in this case are many.
Brianna Maitland was last seen leaving her job here in town at a local.
Yes, that's very true, Mark. She was trained in jiu-jitsu, very good at it too. So that had to tell me, I agree with you, that there was some force behind what may have happened with her. It's a very good point, Mark. Very good point.
In. This case has stumped police the past 5.5 years, despite the fact they say they receive leads all the time. But there have been no traces of Maitland since she disappeared. 2 years ago, a pair of jeans found in the woods in Montgomery proved nothing definitive. A year before that, police tried but failed to track down a woman who looked similar to Maitland, caught on surveillance tape inside an Atlantic City casino. Back in Montgomery, people who haven't forgotten about her say they want answers too.
I didn't know the girl personally, but it doesn't matter. It's just the feeling that something did happen. What happened, we don't know, and we would like to know.
Now, detectives didn't want to say if anything turned up in today's search, but they do plan on returning next week to continue looking for clues. Live in Montgomery, Mia Moran, News Channel 5.
So there's one news break on that, okay? And it's weird how all this went down with her. It's just very weird. A lot like Maura's case, where she just was there, went somewhere, and was gone. And to find her car backed up against this abandoned house, the windshield was shattered, no sign of her whatsoever. It's very crazy. Very crazy situation, guys. Really, really is. And hold on.
Where did this happen?
Vermont, ma'am. Vermont.
Vermont. That's right.
I can't remember the exact town. I have it written down here. Hold on. This may tell you. This is the other news break I had for you guys on it. This is 15 years after the fact. Still looking for her. So
15 years ago, a 17-year-old went missing from her hometown.
Montgomery. That was it. Thank you, Eddie, for reminding me. It was in Montgomery, Vermont. Thank you.
The disappearance of Brianna Maitland has haunted her family, police, and the Montgomery community ever since. NBC5's Tom Garris is live at the police barracks in St. Albans. And Tom, it's been a long time, but those searching for Brianna are not giving up hope.
No, Stephanie, they're absolutely not. Even though Brianna Maitland would have been 32 years old today. This is one of the most well-known cold cases in Vermont, and all these years later, police and her loved ones are still searching for answers.
There's Brianna there again.
Bruce Maitland sifting through family photo albums.
She was a character, witty and generally very happy.
He's told this story over and over.
It's a lot of sadness.
But he's hoping that by keeping the story of his daughter Brianna's disappearance alive, they can find her.
In some ways, it seems like it just happened, and some days it's like it's been a long time. Yeah.
It's been 15 years since Brianna Maitland drove home from work at the Black Lantern Inn in Montgomery. Her car only made it about a mile down the road. She hasn't been seen since. Brianna's 1985 Oldsmobile was found the next night, backed into an abandoned building that has since burned down. Inside, paychecks and other personal belongings.
The evidence of things you take.
For those of you asking, it's been 21 years now. 21 years is a long time with no answers. So, yeah, definitely needs something done.
When you were planning to go somewhere are all here.
But the police didn't consider it a crime scene right away.
So it's kind of like the perfect storm.
Brian Miller is a retired VSP lieutenant. He took charge of the case about a year later, and he says a number of factors led to Brianna not being reported as missing until a few days later. The 17-year-old not living at home. Her roommate out of town. Her next work shift not for several days. And her car not registered in her name.
We lost 3 days of the most critical 3 days. We just lost those.
You can split your group up and work, start one half of them here.
A couple of us better go up that road.
The next few weeks, months, and years brought searches upon searches by both police and hundreds of volunteers.
Anything we find unusual, we mark it to have the state police check it out.
Has anybody checked over here?
Oh, yeah.
So you come to search and hope that, pray for the better. Hope to find her.
Hi, could you help us find our daughter?
Brianna's parents tirelessly spread the word, even canvassing at a mall 2 months after their daughter's disappearance.
My kid, I'm not going to stop.
In 2006,
It did look like it could be her to us.
video from a casino in Atlantic City showed a woman that looked like Brianna. That woman was never located and questioned.
What are you going through?
National news networks picked up the story.
You are convinced that something terrible happened.
Instantly, yes.
Still no Brianna.
Now it was kind of just looking at, okay, what can we do next to keep this case going?
It's about bringing Brianna home to that family. I mean, it's 15 years, you know?
Todd Baxter is the head of VSP's major crimes unit. He says they still have a detective on the case full time, and they get new tips a few times a month.
Trust me, in the time that we've had this for a couple of years now, there's been something new.
He says the key to cracking cases like this is consistency, having one detective that's an expert that's able to vet new information as it comes in.
Here's the bottom line. She didn't do this to herself, so somebody knows.
He says somebody speaking up is the way that this case will most likely be closed.
A closure for me is finding Brianna.
And Bruce Maitland will continue telling his daughter's story until he can find an end.
And the other part of closure was find out who's responsible and see that they come to justice.
All right, NBC5's Tom Garris back with us.
Now, there was a fight that she had gotten into at one point, a couple of days before she goes missing, with somebody that she had previously been friends with. She didn't file a report or any charges or anything like that with the police. She got a couple black guys out of it and went on with her life, and that was the end of it. And I was curious about that whole situation. I had to wonder, you know, I'm really curious about that friend of hers, or ex-friend of hers, I should say. Oh yeah, Brian Schaefer and Daniel Robinson. Both of those cases are beyond crazy to me. I just don't understand either one of them.
Live in Montgomery. And Tom, Bruce Maitland is still proactive in his daughter's case. He's now working to help others in his situation. Tell us a little bit about that. What's he doing?
Yeah, well, Stephanie, Bruce Maitland will tell you how expensive a private investigator can be. He's had a number of them over the years working on his daughter's case, and he's seen people that are in his situation struggle to afford them. So now he started a nonprofit called Private Investigations for the Missing. He says they make a difference for families that have missing loved ones.
In my own experience, I found out that...
I don't know, Sally. That's a good question. You know, I even wondered that about Maura's case at one point in time, if it's related to human trafficking, possibly. because it does happen so often and it has been happening for a long time. It doesn't have the marks of it per se for me, but it's very, very possible, Sally, and it's a good point, and it's a good way to look, good angle to look at, in my opinion, I should say.
Private investigators are really good at gathering information.
Good point,
that
Cap.
people may not necessarily tell the police. So they're atrociously expensive. So we're trying to make this available to families that can't afford it.
And Stephanie, Bruce says that he's seen a lot of families that are in these situations that are searching for justice, and he's doing just that, and that he will continue to do that for the rest of his days. We're live in St. Albans. Tom Garris, NBC 5 News.
What a
Okay, so we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of this one. I don't know, guys. I've looked at this before. I've never talked about it on here live, but I've looked at it and thought about it, and I've covered it. And I actually saw it on the ID as well on Disappeared a long time ago. But there's a lot to this one too that just doesn't make sense. So let's see here. Let me get the right one up for you guys. One moment here. Okay, today, footage that we're going to be reviewing today is brought to us via Lord and Arts. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that channel. I'm going to put the link in here, guys. I want you to go check him out. He does some really in-depth work on these. Does a great job with these. So there is the link to his channel right there. Please go check him out. All right. And he puts all the details out there, which is what I like when we cover cold cases. I like as many details as we can get and as many pieces of information as we can have on this. So please check him out as well. Like his videos. Subscribe if you're interested, please, and hit the notification bell. You don't want to miss what he puts out because he does great stuff. Thank you for that. All right. Start here.
Week asking a question, and I was kind of shocked by the answer. It was asking, have I ever covered Brianna Maitland's disappearance? And despite my years of supporting Bruce and private investigations for the missing, I haven't. Well, it's time we correct that oversight. It's time to turn on the searchlight for Brianna Maitland. Welcome back to Brain Scratch Searchlight. I'm John Lorden. Thank you so much for joining me here today and for caring about these cases like I do. Now, if you follow me on social media, you might have seen some fun back and forth going on between me and Lance from Crawl Space about the private investigations for the missing 5K. They're having their first annual 5K event. They're doing it as a fundraiser, of course. I wanted to help support it, and Lance and I have kind of drummed up this little online rivalry about who can be the fastest at the 5K. Despite the fun that we're having in terms of trying to help promote it with that angle, there is a very serious and heartbreaking story behind this, and that is why private investigations for the missing exists. The truth is that many families can't afford a private investigator. Bruce saw that gap, and he's trying to address it, and he has a bunch of...
I will find out for you, Miss Sally. Give me a moment.
Wonderful people contributing in the background, helping with that. Private investigators, former law enforcement, attorneys. There's all kinds of wonderful people contributing to that cause. On top of course, Tim and Lance from Crawl Space being board members for private investigations for the missing, and then social media creators like me out there trying to beat their drum, trying to raise awareness and, of course, raise funds for them. So before we dive into today's story, I do want to tell just a little bit of Bruce's story through this, but of course, we're going to focus on Brianna and her disappearance.
Actually, I can't pull up real quick. Molly, can you do me a favor, honey, and look up and see how far Montgomery, Vermont is from the Canadian border? Please and thank you, dear.
appearance. I do just want to let everyone know that this weekend is that 5K. You could participate from anywhere if you do it virtually. You'll have all the links that you need in the description box down below so you can sign up for it. And of course, if you can't make it and you can't do the virtual event for some reason, I'm also going to be running another fundraiser right here on the channel. If you look down below this video, you'll see a box right below it with a blue donate button. You can go ahead and hit that and we will donate more funds to private investigations for the missing. Sound good? Let's dive into this story and learn all about Brianna and the catalyst for private investigations for the missing, including a bit of what Bruce went through with this. So starting at investigationsforthemissing.org, that's the website if you want to learn more about private investigations for the missing. My interest in missing persons began terribly and abruptly on March 19th, 2004. My wonderful 17-year-old daughter, Brianna Maitland, went missing. Life changed from that point on for me. A living hell that no parent should ever go through. In the years since, the endless searching and sleepless nights, not knowing where or what happened to her, has taken its toll and continues to this day. I do this in honor of my daughter, Brianna Maitland. I think by helping others will bring some good out of evil in this life. What a wonderful mission. And of course, how can you not support a man with this story? This is a picture of Brianna, and let's go ahead and start learning about this case by stopping at NamUs and getting some of the basics. Date of last contact, March 19th, 2004. She was 17 years old at the time that she went missing. Her current age would be 36 years old. As a matter of fact, that's something also special about the 5K that's coming up. It's happening on her birthday, would be Brianna's 37th birthday when we're going to be doing that 5K. Let's get into more details. Nickname or alias here, they have noted Bree. She's a female standing at 5 feet 5 inches tall, weighing around 118 pounds. She is white or Caucasian. And let's get into the circumstances. Brianna Maitland was last seen during the late evening hours of March.
Just so everybody knows, she'd be going on 39 this year as of now when this video was released.
March 19th, 2004, as she was completing her shift at a restaurant in Montgomery, Vermont. So it seems to me like the disappearance is actually based from Montgomery, but as you guys know, frequently in these cases, the missing persons report will be taken from the last address that they're known to be living at. So that might be why we're seeing a difference in the record here. She left the restaurant in a green 1985 Oldsmobile 88, which was later located abandoned, backed into a building approximately 1 mile from the restaurant. Strange circumstances around that whenever there's a vehicle that's left behind. We know how personal that is to all of us, what our vehicles mean to us, how much personal items are in those vehicles. And this is one of those cases where many of those personal items get left behind, and it leaves you wondering what exactly happened. Obviously, she wouldn't leave those things behind of her own accord. She has brown hair, hazel eyes. For piercing, it's noting that her left nostril is pierced. She usually wears a stud in that. She also has a scar on her forehead near her left eyebrow. Clothing and accessories, we don't have any noted here, which is interesting to me because we have witnesses that saw what she was wearing when she left. And it's weird because I haven't bumped into that information as I've gone through more details on this case. But let's learn a little bit about where she goes missing, which in my opinion seems to be Montgomery. That's really where she was last seen, and also very, very close to where I think her car is actually still found within the city limits there. But Montgomery is a town in Franklin County, Vermont, United States. The population as of the 2020 census was 1,184. Back at the time of this disappearance, it was more like 900, which also raises some questions in this case when you've got such a small population in that area. With that type of population, everybody knows everybody else. Do they know each other's business? A lot of it. Having some family that has lived in small areas of population like this, I can tell you the rumor mill is its own beast. You would think that, well, with more people, there should be more rumors. It's kind of an interesting thing that happens where actually the smaller the community, the more that everyone knows each other, that rumor mill just really whips up. And of course, there's all kinds of different stories that come out of that. We're going to look at all the theories at play here. But in terms of geography, Vermont Route 118 passes through the town, leading northwest to Berkshire and south to Eden. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, the town has a total area of 56.7 square miles. So despite the fact that we're talking about 1,000 people, there is a lot of land out there. So a lot of space. And of course, we don't know where Brianna is. Could she be somewhere still in that 56.6 miles? That's a big chunk of land. There's definitely a good possibility of that. And when you add the complexities of searching private property, you have to get warrants for that, or you have to have the owners agree. And that's if you can even figure out where to search exactly. Now, we do have a big indicator in terms of where her car is found. We'll get into that and take a look at it. Nearly all of the town is drained by the Trout River. And of course, whenever we're looking at these cases, I'm always a bit leery, but very aware of the water sources. We have a lot of cases where, unfortunately, remains are found in water. I can't get enough information on the Trout River exactly to know. I mean, it's called a river, so I would assume it's not a creek. However, based on the images that I was able to look at through Google Maps, I can't really get close enough to see, is it a substantial enough river that moves in a way where if a body would wind up in there, it would get carried and it would travel. It doesn't seem like it to me, but that's just my opinion based on very, very limited information. If you guys have more solid details on that, please include it in the comments down below. Let's dive into more information here, starting with newspapers.com. And this is an article from the Burlington Free Press on Sunday, April 4th, 2004. The day of March 19th was shaping up as a good one for 17-year-old Brianna Maitland of Sheldon. In the morning, she took, and to her relief, passed a mathematics test, the last part of her high school GED examination. So that's part of this as well. Is this is a 17-year-old, like I said, going out, getting her life started. I guess she ran into some issues at the high school she was at when she was living with her family. Some of the notes I'm seeing are saying that she actually enrolled in a different high school when she moved out and started living with her friends. I don't know if at some point she decided to stop doing that as well, because it's interesting to me that she's taking her GED, but ultimately that's where it winds up. And she is basically completing it as of this day where this all happens. In the afternoon, she celebrated by going shopping for clothes in St. Albans with her mother, Kelly Maitland. She wasn't only celebrating. Apparently, she needed a pair of black pants for one of her jobs. She had 2 jobs going at this time. One of them, she was a dishwasher at one location. The other, she was a waitress. She needed black pants for that waitress job, at least according to some of the sources I've seen here. And that was part of this shopping trip. Another thing I saw come up in one of the sources about that is her mother noting that while they were shopping, Brianna seemed to go outside, was gone for a few minutes, came back in and seemed somewhat distressed, but her mother didn't get any clear explanation or a good sense of what that was about. I don't know if maybe she took a phone call or maybe she spoke to someone. I'm not sure. Later, as Brianna Maitland prepared to head out for her nighttime shift as a dishwasher at the Black Lantern Inn in Montgomery, she stopped to leave a note for childhood.
See, I think that piece of information, I was going to bring it up if he didn't. When they were out shopping, having their little celebration that day, and when she got quite perturbed, something upset her in a bad way. She goes outside, she comes back, and she's really upset about something. I think that's important. I think that has something to do with what happened to her personally. I have my own theory on this and my own feelings, and I'll discuss that towards the end of this. But I think that piece of information is very relevant. Just saying.
Friend Jillian Stout at Stout's home in Sheldon, where Maitland was temporarily living. So basically, she's leaving a note with the friend that she's crashing at Jillian Stout's place in this time. The note says, "I get off work between 10 and 12. I'll see you after." Now, the thing is, Jillian actually went to go visit her parents during this and was gone for a couple of days. So that's going to play into a little bit of how Brianna isn't really registered as a missing person for a matter of days. Jillian is away, And when she gets back, she's then like, well, where's Brianna? She's still not around here. Maybe she went to go stay with her parents. A couple days pass. Jillian reaches out to them and they're like, no, we haven't seen her. Then we start getting the trigger for the missing persons report. Let's continue with the details over at the Charlie Project. A big thank you to Megan for all of her amazing work at the Charlie Project. For medical conditions, Brianna was taking medication for migraine headaches at the time of her disappearance. Her medication left behind. It would be found in the car. She wears contact lenses, but they were also left behind when she vanished. Her nicknames, here Megan is noting it's not just Bree, but also B is another potential nickname for her. And here they have a picture of the car as it was left. It was backed into a barn, essentially. We can see it looks like.
This bugged me the way I've never seen anything like this. I have a few other pictures here to check out for you guys real quick while we're holding on that. Hang on here a minute. Okay, so this is an abandoned house, you guys, okay? That's strange to me. The car's backed up to the house. The windshield was shattered, okay? You don't just see this. It's just not something you see happen. And the car is left there. That's strange to me. It's not something you would see in any other anywhere, in my opinion. Okay, I'll be honest with you. Hold on here. Also, these are some other photos of that situation as well. And you see it's out in the middle of nowhere pretty much, you know. It's overnight this happened, obviously. Found in the morning. Like it was just ditched. Now, this is her vehicle, guys. This is her only form of transportation. She's not purposely going to leave this here, especially not with her paychecks left inside and her personal things that she needs on a daily basis. Obviously, somebody else did this. And I'm telling you this because one of the theories about this was that she took off on her own, you know, by her own record, just to, you know, to get away from her life. I don't believe that at all. Yeah, just a little red flag, Eddie, just a little one. So definite issue, folks, in my opinion. Now, again, it looks to me, if you look at this photo here, oh, sorry, too big. It was like slammed into the house. It wasn't just parked there. It was backed in with force, obviously, or that wouldn't have happened. Okay. Did somebody do this in a hurry to get away from something, or somebody in a rush jump out and take off? You know, I don't know, you guys, but it's definitely not what I would say purposely done. And then they just left. It's crazy to me.
Poof.
Now I want to show this picture too. After Brianna had gotten into that fight, this is what she looked like afterwards, you guys. This is not so. Yeah, it wasn't just a little scuffle. This was real. And again, I think that has something to do with what happened to her, possibly that and that other piece of information about her being upset when she went shopping that day. So keep those things in mind. Okay. I don't know if you guys can. I forgot how small that was. She took it pretty rough. Okay, not good. Not good at all. So anyway. All right, let me get these out of here and out of your way, you guys. Hold on. Again, as you can see, the vehicle was slammed into the house. It wasn't just put there neatly. Again, the house is out in the middle of nowhere, completely abandoned on some remote rural piece of property. It's the only vehicle this girl has. She's not going to leave it there on purpose, in my opinion. So, what do you think, Bear? Pretty wild, huh?
Yep. Very suspicious.
Very much so. Very much so. Thank you, Stormy.
Like it ran right up into it and kind of wound up lifting the rear wheel, it looks like. Brianna was last seen at her dishwashing job at the Black Lantern Inn in Montgomery, Vermont between 11:20 p.m. and midnight on March 19th, 2004.
Not at all, Kat.
Her coworkers asked her to have dinner with them, but she declined because she was tired and had to get up early to do her second job as a waitress in St. Albans, Vermont. She left work and was supposed to go home where she lived with a friend in Sheldon, Vermont. She never arrived. Her friend assumed that she had moved back in with her parents and brother in East Franklin, Vermont. The friend called Brianna's parents on March 23rd and found out that Brianna wasn't there and reported her missing. Brianna's vehicle, a pale green four-door 1985 Oldsmobile sedan, was found abandoned on March 20th off East Berkshire Road and Route 118 across from Dutchburn Farm Road, about a mile outside of Montgomery. It was partially parked inside an abandoned barn. We have a bunch of locations being talked about here. I'm trying to just focus on the ones that I think are important to the story. So from the Black Lantern Inn to Sheldon, where she was staying with her friend, that would have been about a 25-minute drive, about 18 miles. It doesn't seem like she makes that distance. Where her car is located is on that path. It's on that drive, basically on 118.
Okay, and thanks to Molly. Molly pulled this map up as well, guys. This gives you a little bit more insight into what the terrain is like and where she went from and to. It's pretty much a straight shot from the Black Lantern, from Montgomery out to the old Dutchburn barn. Okay, 1.4 miles from the end of the barn. It's not very far. It's right down the road. So, and the terrain, like I said, if you look at the terrain around this, it's not very welcoming, in my opinion. It's definitely rural. There's no city. There's no nothing, and it's a very interesting place where a lot of people would not see things going on, especially late at night. It's very dark out there. Okay, there's no street lights and stuff like that. Good morning, Phil. Or afternoon. Good to see you,
Hiya,
man.
Phil.
Thank you so much for being here. There's our Phil that'll put a smile on our face at some point throughout this show. Great.
Did you see Simply's question? Who did she get in a
fight with? I will pull that in. That'll come in here soon. Simply, good question. It was a friend, somebody she used to be friends with. Sorry, I don't mean to stutter. And that will come in here into play soon. There's a whole story behind it, so I don't want to ruin that. It is coming though. Good question though. Very good question. Simply. All right. Hold on. Let me get this out of your way and back to Lorden.
But a little over a mile away from the Black Lantern Inn. And that's this area here. We can see Dutchburn Farm Road that was mentioned, and Megan's right up here. It's actually, I believe, across the street from that. I've looked at some photos from the time and compared them to street views. And this area down here, this rubbly looking area, I believe this is what's left of the structure. Apparently it was burned down in 2016. What else was found in the car? We know that her medications left behind, her contacts were left behind. 2 of Brianna's uncashed paychecks were on the front seat of the car. She also left behind all her clothing, her medicine, her driver's license, her makeup, and her contact lenses. Some of her belongings were strewn on the ground in front of her car. A woman's fleece jacket was found in a field near Brianna's car, but it apparently did not belong to her. The Oldsmobile had sustained minor damage. It apparently backed into the building and punctured a hole in the wall. Investigators later came to believe that the accident may have been staged. It's a really interesting statement, and I haven't found any information to make it clear why they think the accident was staged. Now, seeing where it is in terms of the road, how it's a bit off the road, and the fact that the car backed up into that position, you know, it's not an accident. Like, she was driving down the road, a deer came running out, she had to pull off, she swerved, and the front end of her car went into this building. This does seem very, very strange. Even in terms of it being backed up into the barn, on some of the photos that you'll see here, it doesn't have the road included.
That's another question I had myself. She had a good relationship with her parents, from what I can understand, everything I've read, everything I've looked into. There didn't seem to be issues. I don't know if it's just because she wanted to be independent. She felt independent. She's working 2 jobs, you know. Just wanted to do her thing. She's only 17. Nothing negative I've seen come from Bruce or her mother. None of it. So I don't understand. It's a good question, though. Very good question.
and you can't really get a good sense of how close it is to the road. This is right on the road. So if this was staged, it was meant to be found fairly quickly. This is not a case of this vehicle being hidden. If they wanted to hide this vehicle, quite honestly, they would have been way better off driving it into this open bay port, which you could see down over here, which I think the car would about fit in there. But if not, just even parking behind this building would be much better than this position. So it is interesting to me that it's staged to kind of look like an accident, but not the type of car accident that would naturally occur from just driving down the road. How would this car have backed up into this position in this way? I really have no idea. Police did not initially report the abandoned car to Brianna's mother, who is the registered owner. They noticed that Brianna's paychecks were inside the vehicle, and they guessed that she was the primary driver. So they went to her place of work to try to find her and tell her about the car.
Oh, and then you know what, SRB, with what you just said, I think he just said it too. That's right at the road. Like if you're driving down that road, you're going to look to your left or your right, and it's there. It's like right out in the whole world, in front of the whole world. But the way it was backed into the building, like it caused damage. So it seems like it might have been in a rush. Did she back in real quick and get out and run? Or do you know what I mean? It's weird to say. And that's why this has a lot of the same shirt tails or coat tails, whatever you want to call it, as Mara Murray's, because they found her vehicle abandoned, same type way. Weird things with the car, so on and so forth. That's one of the big things that kind of put these two together. That's another one. That's a good point. I thought about that too, Sherry, that somebody could have been in the car hiding when she got in. It was only a mile, okay? Right down the road. So somebody could have been in her back seat. You know, if she wasn't paying attention, which please, if you ever go out and get in your car at night, please always look in the back seats. I've said that for years. And you know, had a weapon and threatened her, whatever, got into a scuffle with her. That could be how it got backed in like that. I don't know, but all of these are thoughts. They're very good thoughts. You guys are very critical thinkers, and I love that, especially when we cover these cases. Was the door open when they found the car? That I don't know, Cap. It didn't state anything like that in the article when I read it, but we don't know. I don't see, and I didn't see, nor did I read about any skid marks or tire tracks, simply, other than the ones that you can see backing up to the building. That's it. Oh yeah, it's a lot like Moore's case, Amali, and you know how I feel about that one. So this is probably going to bug the hell out of me now. Someone from the restaurant, bar, the lime wedge, right? There you go. Critical thinking. They found a lime wedge, you guys, that was very close to this. Somebody may have followed her from the bar of the restaurant per se. Somebody made, but it's still thought that it's somebody she knew possibly, okay? And I still my brain goes back to this girl she got into a fight with for whatever reason, and or the lunch she had with her mother and her going outside, getting upset and coming back inside. Those two things I can't let go of. And I even feel like those two things are remotely connected, as well as both of them connected to this. So we shall see.
The abandoned Oldsmobile and Brianna's disappearance were not connected until her disappearance was reported 3 days later, which is very unfortunate. It's something that in the early articles, I saw a couple of comments from Bruce that he's pretty upset by, because, of course, the family would have sprung into action much sooner, would have pressed with law enforcement to spring into action. There's, you know, a 3-day gap there in terms of the investigation. About 3 weeks before Brianna disappeared, she was reportedly attacked by a female acquaintance in front of several witnesses. The reasons for the assault are unclear. Brianna did not try to defend herself, although she has had several years of martial arts training. That's an interesting story. Why would she not defend herself? Was it something where she felt like, I don't know, she was in the wrong or something? It's bizarre to me to think that someone would be trained in martial arts. I believe she was trained in jiu-jitsu, if the sources I'm reading are correct.
And she was very well trained in jiu-jitsu, self-defense, so on and so forth. Why didn't you defend yourself? Because you noticed by looking at the picture I showed you, she took it hard. If she was defending herself, that wouldn't have happened. And like you just said, I wondered the same thing. Did she feel like she deserved what she was getting? I just don't see that, though. I mean, she doesn't have a background of being in a trouble situation. Okay. So I don't know. We're going to look into that some more too, though. And they definitely lost critical time, Alicia. Way too much. Way too much time was wasted on this case. There was a lot of law enforcement issues that I have with this one. Balls being dropped, things like that didn't need to happen with this. Unspoken heart stillness says, I think someone sprayed her. I mean, that could be. You mean with like mace or something like that? Very possibly. Welcome, by the way. It's great to have you here. Yeah, it could have been. Well, both her eyes were blackened, Eddie, so it could have been one or the other. But yeah, it is definitely a weapon cap. I agree with you on that. Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's what I was getting ready to get to. So this is the friend. 1 second. This here is her friend Kelly. Oh, well, ex-friend Kelly. This is Brianna right here. This is the girl she got into the fight with. Was it over a guy? Was it over something with their friendship? These are obviously younger pictures of them, but still. Again, thank you, Molly, for that. And just to once again show you, there's no self-defense in my opinion here, or she would have not received either one of these. And this was that blonde that we just saw that did this to her. All right. On we go. Thank you, Molly.
But to not use it when someone's attacking you. And apparently she was attacked pretty violently. We're talking at least black eyes. I think her nose might have been fractured as well. After the attack, she went to the hospital and received treatment for facial cuts, 2 black eyes, and a concussion. She filed a criminal complaint against her alleged attacker. The case was still pending when Brianna disappeared. After she...
Okay, so I'm sorry. I twisted that part of information. She did file a criminal complaint, but then that was it. I'm sorry about that. She never made it to the court date because she disappeared, which is why I had thoughts that may have had something to do with this. It just sounds too easy. Okay, you know what I'm saying? So there's that. Thank you again, Molly.
Vanished, the district attorney dropped the complaint against the objections of Brianna's parents. Very interesting that we have all this. So several weeks earlier, there's a fight. Does this play into her disappearance in some way? If we're looking at this as motive, sure, absolutely. You know, there's a criminal complaint, and if that person disappears, the complaint disappears. I sort of understand why the district attorney wouldn't be able to continue with the charges. I don't think it's a matter of they wanted to let this person get away with it. It's just, how do you prosecute that case when the person you need to put on the stand isn't there anymore? So I think I understand that, but I also get why her parents are objecting, and especially them coming into this, you know, with that 3-day gap. I mean, my mind would just be burning on that time frame. Where,
you know what, I thought about that too, Alicia. That's why I've kind of put these together. But is it that serious? I mean, it's a criminal complaint. You got into a fight. You got assault. That's it. Simple assault is what it's going to be. Is it really worse taking somebody's life to maybe get fined and some probation? In my opinion, I mean, unless that girl has some bad, horrible criminal record or something.
All right.
I don't know, but they're teenagers. Yes. It is very, very much convenient, and that's why I can't get away from that thought. I don't know. Not that I've seen, but it just seems like a bit much to do over a fight. You know what I mean? But some of these kids they're pretty crazy. So who knows? Who knows?
Where was I? What was I doing? How come I didn't reach out to her? I can only imagine the things that Bruce and Kelly are going through with all this. Here, Charlie Project is noting there is a possibility that Brianna left of her own accord. She mentioned to friends her plans for possibly making a short trip out of the area. Well, you know, we're now many years down the road in terms of her disappearance. This is clearly not a short trip, so I don't know how viable this option still is. She is described as an independent, restless young woman who was unhappy in rural settings, and she has run away before. Brianna passed her GED examination on the day of her disappearance. She planned to attend college part-time. Authorities believe she was a victim of foul play, and her disappearance is possibly drug-related. Drugs are very common in the Montgomery area. We're going to run into some more information there. Her parents, I've kind of seen comments on both sides of the fence. They do think that she came to harm, but they maintain that their daughter was not seriously involved with drugs, and drugs were not a factor in her disappearance. And there is something important to remember.
And I can't see this being like deeply involved in drugs. The girl had 2 jobs, you guys, and she held them and worked. She did very well. If you have a bad drug problem, I can't see you being able to work 1 job, normally, let alone 2. But I could be wrong. Just saying. Just a thought I had.
Remember just about where this story is happening and this type of environment. If you have a town of 1,000 people, like I said, everyone knows everyone. So her being connected to people that might have something to do with drugs, probably. Does that mean that she's necessarily involved with drugs herself? Maybe, maybe not. There's really no way to answer that. Some of the social information that her friends have kind of put out there make it sound like, yeah, maybe she was someone to experiment quite a bit. Maybe she was getting into a scene that they weren't happy with. Even some comments from her father say, maybe it's a possibility, but it seems like her parents aren't leaning into that side too strongly, at least at the time of the initial reports here. And I also have to keep in mind, how many things did your parents not know about what you were doing when you were a teenager? That's certainly an understandable dynamic. I think it's something that many of us experience. Continuing with the Department of Public Safety for the Vermont State Police, with a post that they have on this case. It was first believed that Brianna had run away, but later was determined that she may have been a victim of foul play. In 2012, the cable channel Investigation Discovery Disappeared show highlighted her case. And they have a quote here. 17-year-old Brianna Maitland found life on her parents' remote farm boring. So in the fall of 2004, she transferred high schools to be with her friends. But after a short while, Maitland dropped out and couch surfed with help from friends and boyfriends. With no consistent place to sleep each night, it took 4 days for her family to realize she had gone missing. So a bit more of the understanding in terms of why the missing persons report takes so much. And a first mention of boyfriends. Of course, a lot of us that deal in true crime regularly are very familiar with the statistics when it comes to disappearances and, unfortunately, murders of this nature, and how often it'll be someone close, an intimate partner of the victim. As a matter of fact, I noticed a trend at CrimeCon this year of people walking around wearing shirts that said the husband did it. It's an unfortunate thing, but that is backed by the stats. In many of these cases, that is a factor. Now, in terms of what I've seen for Brianna's case, I don't know if she had an active boyfriend at this time. There's kind of an ex-boyfriend that maybe is coming back into the picture. We're going to learn more about him later. I don't know how much of a factor it is in her disappearance. But let's continue with an article from the Burlington Free Press, this one also from Sunday, April 4th, 2004, and learn a little bit more about Brianna and her backstory. She was born on October 8th, 1986, and she lived until last fall with her parents and her older brother, Waylon, in the woods of East Franklin at the end of a rutted 1-mile driveway in a modest home about 300 feet from the Canadian border. Another little interesting wrinkle there, if this is a case of someone that wants to run away, she's not far from the Canadian border, and hopping across the border, especially back at that time, I don't even know if you would have needed an ID. That probably would have been a fairly easy thing to do. What disturbs me about that whole aspect is just all the personal items left behind. Even if you're going to ditch your identity and you're going to leave your ID behind, your medication, your contacts, like that kind of stuff just really doesn't make sense to me. Let's continue with the article. By last year, Maitland had grown restless at home. When tensions in the home caused her father to temporarily move out, she decided to follow suit. Her father proposed renting an apartment for both of them in Ennisburg Falls.
Okay, so there's the answer. I'm guessing it. Obviously, the parents were having marital issues, so on and so forth. Brianna was not comfortable with her mother, I'm guessing, and she decided to move out as well. There's the answer to that question. Could that have had anything to do with this? I don't think so. I don't feel that it does, but you never know. Okay. Guys, again, please be sure to make sure you hit the like button when you come on in and share this out. Please be sure as well to jump on over. The link is pinned at the top of the chat. Hit Mama Bear's channel, hit the like button, share it out if you will as well, and subscribe if you haven't, please and thank you. I appreciate that so very much, guys.
Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Alicia said, I'm going to guess that either she couldn't get a rental because she was underage or she wanted the money for other things and enjoyed the couch surfing. Guys. I think that's why she was probably working 2 jobs, because she's trying to get her own stuff, get her own place. Very independent at her age. And you don't see that too often. I have an 18-year-old that's still living here that has never had a job, only because of his schooling. This girl's 17 years old, going to school, working 2 jobs, doing her own thing. I mean, you got to see that as something. So just saying.
Also, she could attend Ennisburg High School. I guess she felt if I could move out, she could too, Bruce Maitland said. However, the arrangements for the apartment fell through. He decided to move back in home, and that's when Brianna decided she was going to go live with a boyfriend. I guess things didn't work out with the boyfriend, because from there, I see references to at least 2 female friends that she winds up living with. Of course, we know that Jillian Stout is the last one that she's living with before she goes missing. As a matter of fact, there's a quote here. Every teen goes through a party stage, Jillian Stout said. She didn't party when she moved in with me. She didn't want to party. She'd come home, read a book, or watch TV. Now that kind of conflicts with another friend that she had lived with for a period of time before Jillian, who says, I think she's kind of falling in with the wrong crowd. Now, with a disappearance of this nature, it just really strikes me that there's something about the work environment that could be a possibility here. At a minimum, that someone knew she was working that night, might have waited for her. What throws that a little bit is I'm seeing some comments that she actually had worked later than she was scheduled to. They asked her to stay on beyond the end of her shift. And we know it was to the point that where, several people asked her, hey, do you want to stay and have dinner, or do you want to go somewhere and have dinner? And she's like, no, I got to get back and get to sleep. I've got my other job. So it's kind of interesting to me that we have these things working against each other, but you have her car found a mile away from work. Now, is it possible that she drove off in a different direction? One of the things is, was she wrapped up in a drug culture of some kind? Could she have gone for a pickup somewhere? Maybe. Could that farmhouse have been known as an area for doing some type of pickup like that? Maybe, a mile outside of town, kind of away from the eyes of the locals. It's possible. It's possible. But this article goes into some more information discovered about that night. Let's continue with it. There's no evidence that anyone was with Maitland or was waiting for her when she left work at the Black Lantern the night of March 19th. The owner of the restaurant, Deb Winders, declined to comment on the case. But there was also no evidence that Maitland went anywhere or met anyone after she finished her shift, said Vermont State Police Lieutenant Thomas Nelson, who's in charge of the investigation. Finally, there is the question, the mystery of when that night Maitland's pale green 1985 Oldsmobile sedan was driven backward into that abandoned home, or whether she was driving it at the time. The place was once the home of Myron and Harry Dutchburn, 2 elderly men, they were brothers, who were brutally beaten during a 1986 robbery at the house, but they survived. Both men later passed away, and the home has been unoccupied for 6 years. And that's just making me lean back to that possibility of this home is known to be deserted. Now, admittedly, if you drive down the road and seeing how close the road is to it and just the status of what it looks like, I mean, it's literally boarded up. Let's bring up the picture again. You're going to know that this place is deserted just by driving by it. So I don't think it's going to take someone that is necessarily one of the 900 people that's living in Montgomery, but it might be someone that drives through this area regularly, someone that lives in one of the neighboring areas and has come to know that this is a location that's abandoned. Once again, not a great location for hiding a vehicle. So even knowing that you have an abandoned vehicle or an abandoned location here, what's the purpose of how you're using it? If this is a staged setup, it's to get that car found. Unless there's something else that is at play here. And that's part, one of the considerations is, was she possibly was someone waiting in the back of her car? Her coworkers see her get in her car, she goes driving off, everything looks fine, and then the person springs up. There's some type of attack. Do we have information to support that outside of the positioning of the car in this photo? Not a whole lot that I can see. We'll get into a little bit more about what's found at the scene, but there's no obvious signs of violence in the car. You're seeing the picture here. It's kind of an interesting story how we even have pictures of this, because this was not known to be a crime scene. Remember, it would take the police days to figure out that she was actually missing. So remember, this is still within the first few weeks here. Bruce and Kelly Maitland have spent most of the past 10 days putting up posters and poking around the outskirts of Montgomery near where the car was found for clues about their daughter's whereabouts. They've been told of a white pickup truck seen parked down the road the night that Brianna Maitland disappeared, about a man heard shouting late that night, about a man flirting with their daughter at the Black Lantern the last night that she was seen alive. And here's where that rumor mill just starts churning, and we don't know what we can lean on and what we can't here. It's curious to me to think of the possibility of another vehicle being involved with this, because it is kind of out in the middle of nowhere, but admittedly, it's only a mile from town. So if it is someone that has some place to stay back in Montgomery, they could have essentially, I guess, walked back. But then what happened to Brianna? It just really seems to suggest that there's another vehicle that's part of this. So, seeing mention about a white pickup truck, certainly an interesting story. There is also a tip that is called in about the possibility that two drug dealers that she is known to be familiar with might have something to do with this case. And
that's another point too that he just kind of made. It's not far from where she was working. Was a mile and a quarter away. That could be walked, could have been another car. Hold on a minute here. 1 second. Sorry, guys. By the way, the girl's name that did this, it's either Kelly or Keely. Keely Lacrosse is the girl that attacked her. So anybody that's curious, I know somebody had asked for the name. Let's see. Also, I'll have some other information for you guys here in a minute. Okay. So yeah, they could have walked back to the town, had another car followed, did whatever, picked up, and went back. I mean, there's many options with this because it's not that far out of town. It may be rural, but it's only a mile or so away from where she was at, and it's a small town per se anyway. But you know what I mean? Just another thought. I still don't understand how it took them 3 days. The car was registered to her mom. Ellie should have gone to her mom. There's a lot of, see, I told you, law enforcement made a lot of mistakes with this. The people that were her friends and family made some mistakes as far as timing goes. Like, they lost so much important time on this, guys. We know that the first 48 hours when somebody, and especially an adult, goes missing is very crucial. They missed out on those windows, in my opinion. Thank you, Molly, again, hun.
And their place is actually raided. And in that raid, they do find tons of drug paraphernalia. I think they bring one of them up on drug charges, but no signs of Brianna. And outside of those events, there's just not a whole lot of big developments that happen in the search for Brianna in those first few years. Of course, her parents are working. A private investigator is working. But there's not really big developments publicly disclosed until 2006 when we have this happen. Casino surveillance shows image that may be Vermont teen missing since 2004. A Vermont teenager may have turned up at an Atlantic City casino, police said. On January 17th, surveillance cameras at Caesars Atlantic City Hotel Casino captured the image of a woman police say may be Brianna Maitland, 19, gambling next to a man. The video, taken from a ceiling-mounted surveillance camera, shows a dark-haired woman at a table, but her face is only partly visible. It was obtained from the casino after a man who lives near Maitland's hometown returned from a trip to Atlantic City. He contacted the Vermont State Police and he told them that he saw a woman who looked like Maitland at the casino. He told the state police the number of the table where she was playing, the day and the time, and investigators contacted the New Jersey State Police. The casino provided videotape with the footage. It was reviewed by the Vermont investigators and Maitland's parents. Her mother, Kelly Maitland, said the movements of the hands and feet of the woman on the videotape remind her of her daughter, at least according to Detective John Donegan, who's a missing persons investigator with the New Jersey State Police. The woman spent about an hour at the table, he said. A still image taken from the surveillance video and published on a flyer released by the New Jersey State Police shows the top of the woman's head, her eyes and forehead, but it doesn't give a clear view, and it really doesn't. Here is the photo with the guy that was.
I mean, if you look at it, it's the hair. She does kind of have the same facial structure, but it's not clear enough to see it. The nose, it could be. The hair is definite a possibility, but like this picture of her hair straight, it's a little more wavy here, but that doesn't mean that it's not. You know what I'm saying? There's definitely a possibility here, but we don't know. 1,000 people could look somewhere. Yeah, that's the thing, Eddie is right. Like she's very pretty, okay, but she's kind of got that. She looks like a lot of other women, okay. That's the problem. So yeah, very good point, Ed.
Was sitting next to her. I haven't found any information about this lead being effectively chased down, them identifying either of these people. But as you can see from the footage,
and I did the same thing that he did. They didn't do anything with this, guys. There's a few leads that they got, they never followed up with. Once again, they're dropping the ball all over the place, and I don't understand. I don't know if it's law enforcement in that area, because they did the same things in Maura's case, okay? They didn't prioritize things. They didn't look into things that were right in front of their face, and things that I would have been like, you want to go look at that, you know? Didn't do it. I don't understand why they do these things or don't do these things, for lack of better terminology, but you know, get on the ball. These are people's lives. This is not just you know, somebody littered or you know, somebody stupid, some stupid crime. This is real deal shit.
Really, really tough to make a call on this. And an interesting dynamic to think that it was called in by someone that is back from the same area that she went missing. Of course, that's someone that would be very aware of her case, but it's also it's kind of a good question in terms of why didn't you talk to authorities at the time, like when you were there? Like he waits to get home and then he calls.
Or why didn't you approach the situation and try to get a little more information and detail from this? Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
That's a little weird to me, because if this was one of my friends or somebody I knew that was missing from here, and I'm out somewhere and I all of a sudden see somebody go, holy shit, I'd have went right up to that person if I had the possibility and said, hey, oh, it's not you, or you know, people are looking for you. You know what I mean? That would have been me, but you know, I don't know why.
Exactly, SRB.
Why ask for tips if you're not following up? Thank you. That's my whole point. Like, there's a tip line for what? So that people can leave you messages that you're not going to check or do anything with? Come on. Let's not be lazy here.
Pulls it in, and this is the best they can do in terms of footage. I don't know. It's one of those things where I know people are trying to be helpful in these cases, and unfortunately, for I honestly, I can't even give you guys a number. I can just tell you in all of these cases, there's sightings, and many of those sightings are ruled as being not the person that we're looking for. Many of those sightings. It's actually pretty rare, at least in the cases that we've reviewed here, that you have a sighting that pays off and actually turns out to be the person. There's only one case where I can kind of think of where that might be happening, and that is still an active case itself. I think it just shows that there's a side effect to the awareness that's being raised. There's a side effect to grabbing people's hearts. And is it worth to check out those chances? Absolutely. Every single one of them. It's just how often they pay out is not particularly strong. Over at NBCnews.com, whereabouts of Vermont teen still a mystery. And this is an article from May 6th, 2007. Brianna, who had just earned her graduate equivalency degree and was anticipating college, had moved out and was living with a girlfriend. Her independent streak had become a sore subject with both her mom and her father, Bruce. I didn't want her to be out living on her own, Bruce says. It was an arrangement that we didn't like, but we tolerated. We didn't have a choice, said her mother, Kelly. And admittedly, even the time she's going missing, she's turning 18 on October 8th after that. So you're talking a matter of months. And I don't know for Vermont in particular, some states basically look at a 17-year-old as an adult legally when it comes to that kind of stuff. We've had missing persons cases with 17-year-olds where they have turned out to be runaway situations, and the authorities are like, okay, we found them, but they're 17 and we're not going to force them to come.
She's not a runaway, though. I mean, like, this is obviously something that the parents agreed to. She's already working, living it, like, so that doesn't pertain to this, in my opinion, at all.
From home. So it might be that that's the case as well here in Vermont. At 11:20 p.m., Brianna clocked out, and according to Detective Brian Miller of the Vermont State Police, she had left a note with her roommate. We know about the note, just saying about when she was going to be coming home. And actually, now that I think about it, that note even says that she was planning on being home between 10 and 12. So that does kind of point to the fact that maybe she had worked a bit later than she was planning. But we get some quotes here. Rob Stafford, the Dateline correspondent, asks, does anyone see her get into her car at the restaurant? And Detective Brian Miller responds, yes. Other employees recalled her leaving the restaurant and getting in her car, driving away. So definitely not a case of she was attacked in the parking lot, something happened there. She drove off. They have witnesses. Stafford asked, in talking to the people at the restaurant, how did Brianna seem at work that night? And Detective Miller responded, she seemed fine. She seemed herself. Stafford asked, did she seem upset in any way? Detective Miller says no. Of course, the night that Brianna vanished, her car was spotted at an abandoned farmhouse. Police assumed the car had been ditched and had it towed to a local garage. Now, as her parents looked at the picture, they panicked. The tail end of the car had been slammed backwards into the side of the building. So this is Stafford. He's now interviewing Bruce. One theory you have is that someone spotted your daughter, became obsessed with her, hid in the back seat of her car. She didn't know the person was there. She's driving home and that person attacks her. And Bruce says, yes, while Kelly says that's a possibility. I also think it's a possibility. Just the direction of the accident doesn't make a ton of sense to me. I guess if the car was skidding out, I guess if there was a hard pull on the steering wheel, maybe it wasn't in reverse when it was actually thrown into that building. Maybe it was driving forward. Someone grabs the wheel, jerks it real hard. The car hits, because there is kind of dirt right off the pavement there. Car hits the dirt, spins around, and then winds up kind of planted back in. But I'm pretty sure they would have seen that on the ground. As a matter of fact, now it's got me curious to look at that picture again. Let me pull that up. There's enough grass on the ground. Now, from what I understand, the ground's frozen, and you can see there's certainly a lot of ice back here. Let me see if we can just get a little better look. Yeah, I don't know. This might be why they made the assumption about it being staged. Maybe they could tell, it's been made to look like the car might have spun out and landed that way, but someone pulled over, they put it in reverse and they actually drove it back in there. I think there's enough kind of brush and dead grass here that they could have done a decent analysis. Once again, they didn't know that it was a crime scene. They just found an abandoned car and they towed it. But even from these photos, I would think someone would be able to do a decent analysis and say, you know, yeah, this car did spin out. Like, hey, look, we've got some grooves over here. This is part of the car spinning out, and that's where it wound up. Yeah, that's interesting to me. I don't know if anyone has kind of done that analysis and ruled it in or ruled it out. Definitely not that I've been able to find in the public information that's available. Stafford, once again, speaking to Detective Miller. Any signs of a struggle inside the car? Miller says no. Any sign that she was a victim of some violent confrontation at the scene or where her car was found? Miller says no. There's nothing obvious to indicate that at all. Stafford asks, the fact that her paychecks are still in the car, what does that tell you? Detective Miller responds that she either intended to go back to the car at some point and retrieve her personal belongings, or that, you know, she didn't leave willingly. Tips came in. One went directly to Bruce. The caller told him that some men were holding Brianna against her will at a house outside of town. Bruce called the police. They moved in. What did they find in the house? Actually, Brianna's father, Bruce, says they find everything that has to do with selling crack, cocaine, and all the paraphernalia, a gun, thinning agent, scales, ledgers, everything a drug dealer would have in the house. And it does note here, although she was familiar with the men who lived there, the raid failed to turn up any sign of Brianna. Knowing that she knows these guys, of course, raises the question, had Brianna been involved with drugs? Detective Miller says, I would say she experimented with a wide range of drugs. Stafford asked, and do you think that that is at all connected to her disappearance? Miller says, we cannot rule it out. Her parents are convinced that she didn't do hard drugs. Whatever the case, more than a year would pass without any solid leads. Stafford, speaking to Bruce, asks, have you lost all hope of finding Brianna alive? Keep in mind, this is still just within a few years of the actual occurrence. Bruce says, not all hope, but it's a pretty dim light. And then the years just keep ticking by. News agencies will pop up on the anniversary, kind of repost all the basic facts of the case, keeping in mention the 2006 possible sighting that happened at the casino. That keeps kind of coming up. But really, from this point, the articles just turn into kind of repeating the same facts over and over. Let's see if we can find anything new in them. Over at mynbc5.com, this is on the 10-year anniversary. 10 years after Brianna Maitland's disappearance, friends, family, and police are still looking for answers. Do you think Brianna's alive? Asked WPTZ's David Charnes of Maitland's friend, Katie Manning. No, Manning said. Manning fought back tears as she talked about her friend who lived with her months before her disappearance. So this is the friend that Brianna had lived with before she lived with Jillian Stout. I had seen her 2 days before and knew what she was up to and just figured her parents hadn't heard from her, so they called her in missing, Manning said. She owed the wrong person money for the wrong thing, Manning said. That person was in her car that night. This is the thing that's hard because we're hearing these quotes. Wow, really sounds like this friend has some information. Of course, this information has been vetted. It's been put into play. And here we are. We still don't have any conviction. We still don't know where Brianna is. So you have to wonder, this information could be accurate. It could just be that the pieces that connect to it haven't been found yet to pull this forward. Or this could be information that is still part of the rumor mill. We know that she's not living with this friend at this time. After years of waiting, Manning is looking for closure. They need to find a body, she said. They need to have someone admit to doing whatever they did. We need to have a funeral. We deserve a funeral. Everyone that loves her deserves that. Obviously, a friend that cares about her. I just don't know how strong we can lean on that type of information when we're looking at this case so many years later and having it still not solved. Over at foxnews.com, Major Glenn Hall of the Vermont State Police told Fox News, this is not a dormant case. We are actively working on it. This was a girl who was trying to make something of herself, Hall said. Also, the detective who has been working the case since back in 2006 said physical evidence taken from the car could lead police to a suspect, though he declined to elaborate on the nature of the evidence. Hall also said that authorities have persons of interest whom they cannot discount. Was someone hiding inside her car and waiting for her? It's possible. We don't know, Hall said. Bruce Maitland believes his daughter likely knew the person responsible. I don't think this was a random act of being in the wrong place at the wrong time, Maitland told Fox News. I have to agree. This is just not the right type of environment for that. This is very, very small town. And I don't mean to say that just because, oh, it's a small town. If there was someone outside of that community, they probably would have been noticed. Hey, there was this strange person that we had never seen before that was there that night. I think that type of information would have come into the public mindset, and we're really not hearing anything like that. So the odds of it being someone known to that area, probably pretty good. But back to Bruce's quote, there was something going on in Brianna's life that we don't know about. She had obviously made a connection with someone that may have resulted in what happened to her. And who knows what that connection could be. Maybe it was a potential romantic interest. Maybe it had nothing to do with this whole drug connection that seems to keep being looked at in terms of this case. There's a lot of ways that people get to know others. And maybe it's something along those lines that her family's just not aware of. Bruce said that the condition of the car rammed into the side of a barn suggests some kind of struggle ensued. He said he believes Brianna was taken from that location and placed into another vehicle. I think that's a pretty reasonable assumption. Outside of one possibility, and once again, this is pointing back to my lack of knowledge about this creek, but that creek actually runs kind of behind where this property is. You see this here? This is that creek. If this, or it's a river, actually, it's named a river. We can see it gets pretty narrow here, but it does open out pretty considerably here. That's the only other thing that kind of grabs my attention about this particular location. You have that barn out there. We know where her car is. And if you go walking far enough, you are going to hit that river. I just don't know if it's a significant enough water source, if she would have been carried out from there. And I would like to think that searches have been done in that area, but quite honestly, we're a bit far from this case to kind of know that information. I'm sure the family was out there looking. I don't know how big volunteer searches would have been. We're talking small communities kind of in this area. And of course, I didn't run into any news about the actual professional searches that might have happened. Hall acknowledged that certain items, including loose change, were discovered near the car, but said there was nothing we found that we could definitively link to the car. That raises a really good point. They didn't know that this was a crime scene when they towed that car away. So I believe it was a week later when they actually go back out there and then they process it. So anything you find at that time, you're not even sure if it was there at the same time that the car was there. Even if you are sure it was there at the same time, you're not sure that it was actually from the car. So you might have a piece of evidence that was found a week later, maybe even that could suggest that there was some kind of crime, but then tying that to Brianna's car or to Brianna might be a bit of a challenge in itself. Really, really tricky case. And then we get the news in 2018, father of missing Vermont teen starts nonprofit. The father of Brianna Maitland, a Vermont teenager now missing for nearly 15 years, is starting a nonprofit organization to help families of missing people afford private investigators. I've gone through a lot of hell in life because of what happened to her, said Bruce Maitland. No joke about that. Him and Kelly had to move. From what I've seen, their relationship would not last this as well. This is a man that has really gone through a lot of additional loss kind of surrounded by this. We don't want to forget about these cases, says Major Glenn Hall with the Vermont State Police. Unlike some cold cases, this is a case that we continue to receive active information on a yearly.
Oh, geez, Beyond. I'm sorry to hear that. That's crazy. So sorry to hear that. Yuck. That sucks. That sounds like something I would do.
Basis. Not as much as we did in the early stages of the investigation, but we still do receive tips on this case. And no doubt that is in large part to the social media footprint of this case. This is a case that is covered regularly and often, but I have to say, no one has covered it like the boys at Crawl Space. They've got the inside knowledge. They're working with Bruce. They're working with Bruce's team. So if you want to check out what I consider the best coverage, I mean, I'm doing an overview here. If you want to get into this case deep, check out the Missing podcast with Tim and Lance and all the various guests that they pull on from Private Investigations for the Missing and Bruce as well. Maitland says private investigators have also turned up leads. They do a lot of work that relieves the police from doing a lot of that. He has now started Private Investigations for the Missing, an organization to help families searching for their...
Gotcha. It looks like I'm sorry. You must have changed your name. I remember. Mine Boggles, so I will do that, Boggles. Thank you for being here. No worries.
Missing loved ones. I'm trying to do something good by helping other people that are kind of in the same boat as me, and something good to come out of what's really been a bad situation, said Bruce. According to Hall, the Maitland case has changed the way that VSP looks at missing persons cases. We would love to be able to commit time and resources to every one of our homicides or missing persons cases, but we know that's not the case, Hall said. It's interesting. So I'm wondering if that means that he is now being more open to kind of accepting the help of private investigators, because sometimes you'll hear certain law enforcement say, no, we don't want a private investigator poking around on this. They could damage a possible prosecution. It's one of those things. It varies from area to area because we've got police departments and different law enforcement organizations working in such wildly different ways. But sounds like they've got a good understanding going on there in Vermont, at least with this particular case. Over at mynbc5.com, Bruce Maitland has had private investigators working on his daughter's case for years, and he knows how expensive they can be. Through my own experiences, I've found that private investigators are really good at gathering information that people might not tell police, but they're atrociously expensive. So we're trying to make this available to families that can't afford it, he said. Not only that, finding the good private investigators is a bit of a challenge in itself. And I have spoken to and worked with some of the staff at Private Investigations for the Missing, and I can tell you these are top-notch people. Their heart's in the right place, and they've got the skills to really be effective here. So I couldn't be more proud than to help support that organization and the amazing work that Bruce has done pulling that together. But we're not done with Brianna's case. VSP partners with company to do new analysis of evidence. The State Police Major Crime Unit is collaborating with Othram, a Houston-based business that specializes.
And here we are with yet another investigation using Othram. And guys, I'm telling you, they have been closing cold cases left and right over the past couple years. So hopefully it's going to help in some way, shape, or form with this, because this family deserves closure. And friends. Yeah, back to Othram again. Truly. I mean, it is what it is at this point. So let's see what happens with this.
Specializes in forensic testing and works on the cutting edge of DNA and scientific techniques to help identify victims, locate missing persons, and uncover perpetrators of crime. Through this partnership with the Vermont State Police, Othram will analyze DNA evidence recovered during the investigation into Brianna's disappearance. We've never lost sight of Brianna's case and have worked relentlessly to find out what happened to her so we can provide answers for her loved ones and hold any offenders accountable, said Captain Scott Dunlap, commander of VSP's Major Crime Unit. This partnership, leveraging the latest scientific tools and techniques available, provides our investigators with another avenue to pursue. I am so excited to hear that there's DNA at play in this case. I just wonder, what type of DNA is it? Are we talking touch DNA from the inside of her car? Is there some type of item that was found in the vehicle? And will this lead really be helpful? What else can we learn about it? The DNA found near her car, a little bit of a hint there, I guess. It was found near her car, was originally submitted through an FBI database and compared with 11 individuals, but did not return any matches. Of course, we know that's kind of the old method of what you would do with DNA. That's before we had this amazing genetic genealogy component. In the fall of 2020, the DNA was sent to a sequencing laboratory in Texas, which identified a number of possible matches that police were able to interview and collect DNA samples from. The sample has since been matched to a person whose identity is not being released by authorities, who state the new information does not mean a suspect has been identified. It seems like they're being extremely cautious with this lead, and it seems like possibly the item that was found, or however this DNA sample was found, might be hitting that contingency I was worried about, that it's not closely enough related directly to the car or directly to Brianna. Like, was it a piece of the barn that they think someone might have walked up and leaned on for a moment while they were looking at what happened with how the car backed into it? Something along those lines. Was it some other item that was found on the ground and they have no way to kind of tie that back to the actual car or Brianna? It seems like there's some form of challenge. And I mean, I get saying that this doesn't mean that a suspect has been identified. Obviously, we're not talking about a murder situation where we have now found the knife and the DNA from the knife has been tested and we know who it is. This is a much looser connection in a case where we don't know if Brianna's alive or not. We've got a little more information on this DNA lead, but we need to learn about someone first. Here's a quote from Lewis Berry, and he's someone that works with private investigations for the missing. We're hoping any day that that lead could come in. There's obvious difficulties as cases age. People's memories aren't as good as they used to be. People forget things, obviously, over time, which makes things difficult. But he does say that events like vigils can help bring back those memories and restore hope in resolving that case. The boys at Crawl Space and the Missing Podcast, Tim and Lance, of course, have very close contact with Lou. So let's hear directly from them about this evidence.
They, in fact, identified the source of the DNA. The individual who was identified has absolutely zero involvement in this case whatsoever. Is totally non-involved.
So directly from private investigator Lou Berry, unfortunately, that DNA evidence not involved with this particular case. Let's go ahead and take a look at a list that my friend over at storiesoftheunsolved.com has put together. Claire has also done some writing on our podcast, Seriously Mysterious. Here are the main theories that she's noting for Brianna's case. Number one, the strongest theory in the case is that Brianna's disappearance was drug-related. This is because it's the authorities' strongest lead. Of course, we know that there was at least one tip that was called in and some action taken on that tip. It should be noted that investigators have not been able to substantiate this theory, and her parents maintain that she was not seriously involved in this scene. This is despite them finding out about her friendships with these supposed drug users and dealers. In the week following her disappearance, police received a tip stating that Brianna was being held in a house in Berkshire known to be occupied by drug dealers she was acquainted with, Ramon Ryans and Nathaniel Jackson. However, they checked the place, they raided it, they found the drugs, but no trace of Brianna. What's kind of interesting is that wasn't the only tip called in about those guys. In late 2004, investigators received another tip, this time from an anonymous female that implicated both Ryans and Jackson in Brianna's murder. The unknown woman stated that the pair had killed Brianna the week after her disappearance, after Ryans and her argued over money that she'd lent him to purchase cocaine. After she was killed, the woman claims Brianna's body was temporarily stored in the basement of another woman's home before being dismembered with a table saw and disposed of at a pig farm. Police have been unable to corroborate the validity of this statement. And quite honestly, I wouldn't have even really shared it with you guys. It has that ring of rumor mill. Ever since someone put a movie out and talked about a body, being disposed of at a pig farm, I swear it's like that keeps coming up in cases time and time again. But I am interested in that tip because it does tie kind of back to the action that they took on raiding that house in 2004. What I'm kind of on the other side of that argument, I don't think that information was necessarily held back from the public. I'm seeing it in the reports that I've been going through for putting putting today's video together. So is it possible that that news kind of leaked at the time, and then this tipster saw that and they're kind of building up the story a little bit as they call that tip back in? Maybe. I'm not sure, but that is certainly one of the theories out there. Theory number 2, that Brianna simply left of her own accord. According to friends and those who knew her, the young woman had mentioned plans for a short trip out of the area. This, paired with her history of running away, have led some to speculate that she simply decided to move somewhere new and start over. Obviously a chance of that, but this many years down the line, I don't know how big of a chance. And with the exposure that...
There's no way if that girl did that, one, that she's going to leave her car here. The only vehicle she has to get anywhere. She has 2 jobs. No. Nope. I don't believe that one at all. Never did.
Her case has gotten over the years. In terms of both major and social media, I just don't know. A third theory is that Brianna was abducted by several people. I think that is an interesting thought. We're talking about someone that does have martial arts training. So I think that's more of a consideration. I don't know that I would consider that a theory on itself. I think that that's a possible.
If she was, you guys, if she was, there was a weapon involved. Martial arts training, what? Jiu-jitsu training, they teach you to take weapons from people too. So I have to feel like there was more than one person that had weapons possibly as well. Okay. Both or all of them, however many people there were, because you can't take it from everybody at one time. She's not Bruce Lee or anything like that. Okay. But that's the only way I can see with this girl's training, the amount of training she had in jiu-jitsu, that anybody could have got away with this. That's my opinion. But, or somebody drugged her. Okay, that's another way. Whether you inject somebody with something or do something like that, you know, without her surprising her in that sense, is another way, because then she has no choice but to succumb to what you're doing. That's another one. Yeah, stunned her. They could have hit her and knocked her out with something. They could have also used a stun gun on her. Okay, there's many things that could have happened, but I'm gonna go with, you know, at least some form of a weapon was used. I don't think this was done barehanded, in my opinion. Thank you, Stormy, for that. And guys, please, if you haven't out yet, please check out our lovely Miss Wisdom Speaks channel, guys. She does so much good for the missing and the indigenous peoples. She's such an amazing person with so much knowledge on all these things. So please go check out that link right there. Subscribe to her if you haven't. Notification bell, of course. And please like her stuff and share it out, guys. Please and thank you. She's such a huge and important part of this community. We want to support her in every way, fashion that we can, guys. So thank you for that, Stormy. Same with our Mikey. Again, Mikey's really been putting out some great videos, guys. Go check him out at The Last 24. He's putting in a lot of hard work on these things. Again, another part of this amazing part of this community and this team. Please go show some support and love for both these channels. If you would, guys, we really want to get them growing and going in any way, shape, or fashion. And of course, our Mama Bear, you know that already. So let's do that. Thank you, Stormy, so much for those.
Consideration with any of these theories, that there was more than one person involved. A popular theory is that Brianna's disappearance is related to that of Maura Murray. FBI agents met with local authorities to discuss the possible links between the two cases. However, it was eventually concluded that despite the similarities, the cases were likely not connected. I think these cases take place almost 100 miles apart. I get why people see a possible connection, you know, similar types. They both have dark hair. Their cars are left behind. There's not enough known, quite honestly, about either of those cases, in my opinion. And we have covered Maura's case on the channel before as well. There's not enough detail known to really draw a similarity there. The basics of the story, yes, they are very similar, but we've got several cases like that. I mean, you know, Brandon Lawson, he went missing. His car was left behind. You know, I wouldn't connect that to this. I mean, admittedly, here we've got, you know, both the victims being female, both having dark hair. Maybe there's a little more connectivity, but not that much for me. I would have to see that there was a lot more connectivity to that. A final theory was that Brianna was a victim of Alaskan serial killer Israel Keys, who he's another one. I see this guy's name come up in these cases so often. But over at MyNBC5, serial killer not linked to missing Vermont teen. The FBI has ruled out serial killer Israel Keys in the disappearance of Vermont teenager Brianna Maitland. FBI Special Agent Jolene Godin told the Burlington Free Press that financial records showed Keys was elsewhere on March 19th, 2004, when the 17-year-old disappeared. So not Israel Keys. Despite all that, I did find this information that kind of pulls back to one of the earlier theories that we discussed here in the video. Just because we talked about that stat, the husband did it. Intimate partners being a big piece of these stories time and time again. Let's rewind a little bit and go back to 2003 and hear about some additional details from Newsbreak here. Brianna moved in with her friend Katie Manning and Katie's family. She transferred to Ennisburg High School with several of her friends attended. She felt like she didn't fit in her previous high school, and she was elated to finally have a social circle. One of those friends was Keely Lacrosse. Keely's boyfriend of 2 years, James Robitaille, had previously dated Brianna. In February of 2004, Keely went on vacation with her family for a week. And when she returned, there were rumors around town that James had cheated on her with Brianna. Keely confronted James, and he admitted to cheating on her. After their breakup, James and Brianna started dating. This caused a huge rift in their friend group, and Brianna was asked to move out of Katie's home. She started living in her car in freezing temperatures, and her grades began to suffer, causing Brianna to drop out of school altogether on February 1st. So we're getting a lot of details here that are kind of filling in questions I had from the previous coverage. On February 4th, Brianna showed up at a party with James. Enraged, Keely started to taunt her. Brianna told James that she wanted to leave, and she waited in his truck. Keely knocked on the passenger side window, and when Brianna rolled it down, Keely punched her twice in the face. Although Brianna was trained in jiu-jitsu, she refused to engage, later telling her mom she didn't want people to not like her. Brianna was diagnosed with a concussion and a broken nose. Although she didn't want to at first, Kelly encouraged her daughter to file charges against Keely. A few weeks later, Brianna mysteriously disappeared, and we know that those charges get dropped. Keely was questioned multiple times and ultimately ruled out. She went on to get married and have children of her own. So, sounds pretty clear that Keely has been ruled out here, but there's other information that is nagging at me. March 19th, 2004, we know what happens on that day. She clocks out at 11:20 p.m. She gets into her green 1985 Oldsmobile. She starts driving home. Between 11:30 and 12:30 a.m., several witnesses saw a 1985 green four-door Oldsmobile rammed into the side of an abandoned farmhouse called the Old Dutchburn House, just 1 mile from the Black Lantern Inn. That's a tight time frame. I mean, and I don't know that 11:30, it's hard with time frames like this. You really can't hold it down to the minute, but we're basically hearing that within an hour, certainly, her car was noticed there. James, by then Brianna's ex-boyfriend, said that he drove by the Old Dutchburn house at 2:30 a.m. and he saw her car, but he didn't stop. He later admitted to pulling over. James said the headlights were on and the driver's side and passenger side doors were open.
Okay, well, if that's true, there's the answer to the question about the doors being open, but why would you not get out of your car and go look? Something ain't right with this, I'm sorry.
He turned the lights off, closed the doors, and drove away. James said he initially lied because he was driving while intoxicated. Even thinking about him being worried about driving while intoxicated, isn't he concerned about how this vehicle is found? Isn't he concerned about this scene? He's rolling up on his ex-girlfriend's car. The lights are on. Both doors are open. He decides to like shut off the lights, close the doors. And he sees that this car has been obviously involved in an accident.
So that in turn tells me that he fudged a crime scene possibly too. Okay? At least. at least. And that to me, okay, let's go with that. Because maybe he realized that, is it because he realized that there's hand and fingerprints there, so he has to make a story as to why they're there? Oh, because I drove by and saw it at 2:30 in the morning. The doors were open, lights were on, so I decided to turn all that stuff off. In turn, that's how his hand ends up on the car. I don't know that I believe this. This is just that's me. You guys don't have to go with that, but I don't know that I do.
Luckily, a group of hikers stumbled upon Brianna's car later that morning. Finding it unusual, they took a few photos and continued on their way. Without them, there would not have been any photos of the crime scene. So that is how we have photos of the car actually in the house. And once again, I'm looking at this photo here just to see if you can determine if that car slid into position. I can't make it out.
Yeah, I was looking too, and I don't see skid marks. It doesn't look like it here or here. And I looked at the other pictures. I don't see any either. The wheels turned slightly to the left. So it looks as if maybe they kind of did a 180 back into this, possibly, because they're cranked pretty far. I think. I can't tell completely, but they're cranked, did them out like as if it was like a turn in. Okay. I'd like to see the driveway itself, and it looks like it hit hard enough that it knocked the window frame and everything out. That's pretty decent amount of speed they were going when they did this. So what's the deal? I don't know. I have questions about this too.
From this photo. At 1:20 p.m., someone called the police to report an abandoned vehicle, and a trooper was dispatched to the old Dutchburn house. He found loose change on the ground and a broken necklace later determined to be Brianna's. So it's interesting because we have heard previous statements that there wasn't signs of any kind of struggle there. Broken necklace.
In turn, law enforcement is once again dropping the bomb. A broken necklace. I'm sure she didn't rip her necklace off and throw it on the ground. That tells me a struggle. Could have been cold. Yes, this was in March still. So, I mean, could have been cold. Raquel, oh well. Welcome. Good to see you, dear. Thank you for joining us today. So, yeah, it very well could have been, guys. I definitely think there was at least some form of a struggle. There could have been a struggle in the car, which in turn could be why she backed into, or whoever backed into the house, okay? Fighting or wrestling around in the car will cause you to lose control of a vehicle, per se. Just saying. These are thoughts I'm having as he's saying these.
Maybe a sign, maybe not a sign. But considering the scene that's being described by James here, 2 doors being open would suggest there was 2 people in the car. And now we're finding that her broken necklace was found at the scene outside of the car. I don't know. I'm kind of troubled by.
Now I'm gonna give a little scenario. If they're struggling in the car, that could explain the backing into the thing. She jumps out one side, whoever else jumps out the other side, maybe tries to run. She's grabbed. There comes the necklace. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I can visualize this. Problem is where is she? There's nothing else. It's so wild to me. To not find anything anywhere, any pieces of her clothing or anything like that, evidence like that, or remains, nothing. This is wild to me. Again, that's why it reminded me of Mora's case so much. Let's see here as well. What did Eddie say here? It reversed into the house. Transmission was not in a forward gear. Right. If she was followed, maybe she tried to quickly turn around and crash, leaving her stranded, and maybe they blocked her in. That's another good one. But if both doors were open, maybe then the other way of this could be that somebody could have tried to climb through the car to get to her. Okay, that could be why both doors were open. As that happens, she jumps out the other side, maybe. The car left and reverses and stalled out. Could be. Eddie says, I don't know. It's all my speculation, but to imagine the car at highway speeds and skidding off the road, ending up like that is zero possibilities of that. Right. There have been skid marks, in my opinion, that we would have been able to see visually. And again, guys, if I show you, hold on here. Let me see. Back to those pictures that Molly had sent me. Looking at the vehicle and where it's at. Hang on, I want to see just to be sure. One moment here. It's hard to tell. There's no like skid. I don't see any tire like spin outs or, you know, the grass tore up. It just looks like it was backed right up and then bam. Okay. Now I also wonder if she had been driving and if somebody else was in the car, they did something to her, which made her foot hit the gas, go down, if she got knocked out or something. And that's why that happened too. It could be possible. There's a many ways this can be looked at, which is why it bugs me. You know what I mean? So, you have great perception, all things detectives. Yeah, you should have been a detective, Eddie, in my opinion. I've said that before, but that's just me. All right, back to where we were. Sorry to interrupt.
By the thought that James's revelation, his new information about stopping at the scene, has now justified any DNA of his that's found there. He closed both doors. That means he touched both doors. He shut off the lights. That means he was somewhat inside of the car. So if his DNA is found in there, admittedly, his DNA could have been found in there anyway, because he was known to have been dating her at some points previously around this. It really leads me to believe, well, first of all, why did he lie about it? Why did the story kind of change? Now he's putting himself at the scene, but he's saying he was there a couple of hours later, but gave an explanation of why his DNA would be all over the place. I would think that would be someone to kind of look at and question. Unfortunately, in March 2010, investigators searched the home of Brianna's ex-boyfriend, James Robitaille, but they didn't find anything. Even more unfortunately, James passed away in 2019 at the age of 33. What happened? Killed in a fiery car crash. A Montgomery man was killed early this morning when he attempted to pass a vehicle on the crest of a hill. James Robitaille, 33, of Montgomery, was the sole occupant of his 2015 Ford Edge, which burst into flames from the collision. Unfortunately, the person he ran into, an elderly person, also died. Now, of course, I would think Bruce has been all over this case from the start. He has to have heard of this lead. He has to have probably has much more inside information in terms of James and Brianna and their relationship. What does Bruce think about the possibility of James being involved here? Thankfully, the boys over at Crawl Space have asked.
And a lot of people have said over the years that they know, or they think they know, and quite frankly, it's just hearing other rumors, and then they choose to believe the rumors,
Raquel.
and they think that's what happened. And I know James has been really thoroughly investigated by the police, just because of the fact that he puts himself there a short time afterwards, and the fact that he was an ex-boyfriend, and I guess a few other factors that would make him somebody that they were really interested in. And I guess it's safe to say that they're fairly confident he has no involvement, that he doesn't really know anything either as far as involvement.
So directly from Bruce, it seems that James has been ruled out by law enforcement. Not only do they think that he's not directly involved, but that he also doesn't know anything about it. So where does that leave us in the disappearance of Brianna Maitland? If you have information on this, please use the contact details that you've seen on the screen and in the description box below. Please put that information in play. There is a reward that's available. We've also got links down there for the Facebook group.
Before we get done with what he's showing here, I do want to go into some other couple other things here with this. Well, Well, no, let him finish first, then we'll jump to this.
The Brianna Maitland missing family page. We can see one of the most recent posts here. As yet another March approaches, I ask for your prayers for Bree to be found. I set up stones from the wall of where she was born to remember, but she is not there. I love you and miss you, Dad. We've also got the Brianna Maitland public persons page in the links down below. I also want to give a big shout out and thank you to Rebecca Sebastian for her coverage on Dialogue, which is basically just an in-depth conversation with Bruce, kind of leans more into private investigations for the missing, a little bit into Brianna's case as well. It's a really, really good episode. Please check that out. And of course, Crawl Space is the place that you got to go to if you want to do the deepest of dives that you can on this case. Another reminder, please consider supporting private investigations for the missing. This case is the perfect example of why this type of help is important. It's one of those cases where it's a small town, the rumor mill's crazy. Who can cut through that? Who can hear the right things? It's a private investigator. And in so many of these cases, we don't have that help for these families. Bruce is trying to fill that gap. So please consider supporting private investigations for the missing right now. You can click that donate button down below or join us for the 5K in person or virtually this weekend on Brianna's birthday. A big thank you to Tim and Lance over at Crawl Space. Also, thank you, Bruce, for creating this wonderful service. It's something that I look forward to supporting for years. And a quick shout out and thank you to all of the wonderful people that contribute their time and services to private investigations for the missing.
Very good point.
Take care, everyone. I'll see you back here on Friday with a brand new episode of The Best of Seriously Mysterious.
All right. Again, thank you, Lorden. I appreciate it. Again, footage provided by Lorden Arts with Brain Scratch. He does great things, guys. Great things. I dropped his link earlier. I'm going to drop it here again, or one of the mods can drop it, please and thank you. He does really in-depth looks into these cases, which is what I like. And between him and Mikey from that chapter are my two favorites with my cold cases that I follow. One moment here we go. So again, thank you for that. I appreciate it. To him, and like I said, if we can drop his link real quick, once again, I appreciate that. Agreed. Now I do have, well, like I said, I wanted to show you guys. I have some other info I wanted to throw out here for this that goes with this. Okay. For whatever reason, let's see. Thank you, Molly. One moment here. I got some more stuff that goes with this, is what I'm saying. All right. Moving on. You still here, Mom Bear?
Yes.
Okay. Any thoughts thus far? I hear you, Ghost.
Just it's a mess.
Right. Oh, big time. So, United States versus Pendergrass. This is a interesting piece of information. All right. So, Aaron Pendergrass has moved pursuant to, this is court docs. I'm going to try to explain to this why we're looking at this. To vacate, set aside, correct his sentence in connection with his 2010 conviction for engaging in a conspiracy to distribute controlled substances in violation of 21 U.S.C. 841B1A and 846 as Doc 233. Pendergrass contends in his initial motion that the district court erred in failing to grant his motion to withdraw his plea of guilty. Okay, now Aaron Pendergrass, guys, this is his court docs right here, like I stated. Okay, let me get to the previous stuff here. His pre-sentence report and the transcripts of Pendergrass sentencing reveals the following. Okay, between March and May of 2008, Pendergrass conspired with several individuals, including Keely LaCrosse, Diane Lefebvre, to sell cocaine base and heroin in northern Vermont. LaCrosse and Lefebvre, I'm not saying it right, but Lefebvre were the primary distributors working for Pendergrass. Okay, during the period of the conspiracy, a confidential informant working with the Essex Police Department purchased a total of 48.11 grams of cocaine base from Lacrosse and Lefebvre. On May 27th of 08, Lefebvre sold the confidential informant 5 grams of heroin. Investigators also confiscated 12.5 grams of crack cocaine from a teenage courier, Nelson Baby Lopez, who claimed to be working for Aaron Pendergrass. Through informant purchases and seizures, the government's investigation yielded 5 actual grams of heroin, 60.61 actual grams of cocaine base. Now I'm reading this to you guys. If you back up a little bit and remember the name of the girl that punched her is Keely Lacrosse. However, testimony at Pendergrass's sentencing revealed that the drugs distributed in the course of the conspiracy far exceeded the quantity. On March 23rd of 09, attorney Gordon Gebauer was appointed to represent Pendergrass, replacing prior counsel, so on and so forth. Okay, great. I don't care about that. The point I'm trying to get to is this man was a hardcore drug dealer in this area, okay? And had been for quite a long time. I don't know how long Keely worked for him, but hold on here. Yeah, this is all about what he did. Point is, the man was big time in this area for Vermont. Believe it or not, it happened. Okay, so there's that. I wanted to show that real quick. The proof that this was and who she was involved with. Okay, that's a big time issue to me too. And this is only what 4 years after she goes missing that this all goes down. Let me pull this up here again, just to give you some backgrounds and some insights into this that are very possibly pieces of information related to this. So she could have owed him money. While her girlfriend herself said that she owed the wrong person money in the wrong time. Was that a guess or was that something she factually knew? And once again, we see that law enforcement did not follow up on any of this, look into any of this, and there are no answers from that. Poor Bruce. I mean, this guy is really breaking his back to try to get some answers in his daughter's death, and nobody's helping him. Sad to me. Next up, drugs connected to the Burlington woman's death. Okay, police said that the killing of a Burlington woman last month was October 7th of 2018, 17th of 18 years later. Okay, but listen to this. Was drug related. Burlington detectives discovered the remains of Lygia Ray Collins. Hold on. 25 in a wooded area in Ripton. An autopsy was planned to confirm the identity of the body and cause of death. Monday, police held a news conference regarding Collins' death. They said they're still awaiting the official results of the autopsy and will pass all the information along to the state attorney's office, Bob Simpson, who will decide what charges will be filed. Police have not said how Collins died, but they said the killing was related to drugs. The discovery of the body came as a relief to the Collins family under Mother Luann said Sunday. Sorry. It's great to bring her home, said Luann Collins, 47. It gives us closure. Under the circumstances, it can't get any better than this. Collins was last seen, police have said, leaving her St. Paul Street home just after midnight on July 4th. She was reported missing July 5th. Searches in Chittenden County and in the woods around Lincoln last month generated evidence, but no signs of the body. Police have said that Collins was the victim of a homicide. She has had 2 young sons, 7 years old and 14 months. In mid-July, police impounded a truck belonging to Moses Robar, 52. Police said that at the time, the truck and its location after Collins was reported missing could prove key to the investigation. Robar shot himself in the head as police approached him for questioning shortly after Collins was reported missing. Okay, one moment here. Sorry. I lost my place again. Give me a second. Sorry. Police said that at the time, Robar shot himself in the head. He later died from his injuries at Fletcher Allen Healthcare in Burlington. Police have said Ellen Ducharme, Robar's living girlfriend, is also a suspect in the case. She was put in custody last month on an unrelated probation violation. Both were acquaintances of Collins. Hold on here. Okay, so that is hold on a minute. This is in relation to this area, folks. Okay, and it's now, like, this was 2018, mind you. Sorry. So give me a moment here and I'll explain this a little bit better. November 6th of 2018, Ryan's is linked to the death of Legia Collins in Burlington, Vermont. Collins was his then girlfriend whom he lived with. Correction, not all. Sorry. So when all this all links together is what the point I'm trying to make. Here, this should help right here to explain this a little bit more. My apologies. Search for whoop. Hold up. Okay. I just got a message from Miss Paula, Prying Paula, that she's doing okay, still has a lot of personal stuff going on, but she'll be back eventually, and thanks for checking on her. So she's okay, everybody. Anybody that was wondering. I'm happy to hear that. Moving on. Okay. Okay, so in the episode They Were Gone, we dive into the chilling disappearance of Brianna Maitland, a case that has haunted Vermont past 20 years. Brianna was last seen March 19th of 2004. Investigation of her disappearance has led to a web of drug dealers, criminal activities, and unanswered questions. So everything that everybody has looked into with this case has done deep dives. They come back to the same types of drug dealers, big time drug dealers. Okay, many of them. And a lot of criminal activities that are going on around her. Okay, I don't know if this is why she was trying to get away or what the deal was. I know I need to put my glasses on. You're right, Alicia. So, wait, what are you talking about, Stormy? Body found, father charged, and daughter's disappearance, still missing 13-year-old Kamani Latik. Oh, okay. Another case. Thank you. We'll look into that too. Here we go. So the search for Brianna took a dramatic turn when an anonymous caller claimed that she was being held in the basement of a farmhouse on Reservoir Road in Berkshire. The farmhouse was rented by two drug dealers, Ramon Ryans, okay, and Nathaniel Charles Jackson, who had connections with Brianna. Police raided the house but found no trace of her. They found everything but her, okay? Brianna's been involved in the local drug scene, attending parties where she met Ramon and Nathaniel, despite rumors suggesting she was a drug addict who had run away. Her family insisted that she was far from that stereotype. She was working two jobs, finishing her GED at the time of her disappearance. It's the point that I made too. I can't imagine being an addict and being able to pull all that off. Okay. Thank you, Stormy. I will pull that up here towards the end when we're done with this and review that as well. So that's my point. Now, did she experiment with a lot of different stuff? They said that yes. Experimenting and being an addict are two different things. Being in a circle of people that you're friends with are two different things, but it can be very dangerous because of what you know and what you do have an involvement in. Yeah, I was thinking about that after I read it. That is, I remember that case from here. Thank you, Mama Bear. Now I'm going to show you how these things link together. Okay. So during the raid on the farmhouse, it states that police found drugs, weapons, but no sign of Brianna. Ramon and Nathaniel, along with two others, were arrested but later released. Ramon moved to an apartment in Burlington. Okay. while Nathaniel stayed in the area. The story took another twist when Legia Ray Collins, a woman connected to Ramon, disappeared on the 4th of July, 2004. Now, that's the same year that Brianna goes missing. Legia's disappearance reported by Ramon, but soon Ellen DeCharme, sorry. Oh, what the hell? Sorry. Confessed to murdering her with the help of Moses Robar and Timothy Cruz. Ellen's account echoed the brutality suspected in Brianna's case, creating a potential link between the two. There we go. Ramon's involvement in the drug scene and his connections to several key figures raised suspicions. Despite his arrest, he was released after cooperating with the police, leading Brianna's family to believe that he had not provided any useful information. Frustrated with police efforts, Brianna's family hired private investigator Greg Overacre. Overacre's investigation led to numerous interviews and the discovery of a potential lead involving a party on the night of Brianna's disappearance. However, these stories varied widely, and none provided concrete answers. Despite many theories and potential leads, the case remains unsolved. Vermont's police and FBI continue to investigate using advanced DNA technology to pursue any new leads in 2024. On the 20th anniversary of Brianna's disappearance, $40,000 reward was announced for information leading to her whereabouts. The disappearance of Brianna Maitland is a complex case filled with dark twists and unresolved mysteries. Her family and investigators remain hopeful that new information will eventually surface to bring her home. As Colonel Matthew Birmingham of the Vermont State Police stated, this is not a cold case, it's an unsolved case. There's many sources here that leads to all this, okay? And then this here is the podcast per se, right here. Here, this is the news report I'm going to play for you real quick. Hopefully it works.
17 years ago, Brianna Maitland went missing in Vermont. Today, her family and detectives are still searching for answers. But as NBC5's Zuri Hoffman explains, the attention surrounding cases like this one can sometimes make them more difficult to solve.
Around the anniversary of her disappearance,
there isn't a day goes by that I don't think about her.
Bruce Maitland is still holding out hope he'll find his daughter. We also spoke with him at his Pennsylvania home a few years back.
There's Brianna there again.
It's now been nearly 2 decades since his then 17-year-old daughter, Brianna Maitland, was last seen leaving the Black Lantern Inn in Montgomery, Vermont, where she worked. Her car was later found backed into an abandoned barn. 17 years later, police still don't know what happened to her.
My ultimate goal is to be able to bring some closure.
Vermont State Police Detective Angela Baker has been the lead detective on the case for the past 4 years.
What makes this case so difficult to solve?
The rumor mill is just alive and well with this case.
She also says there's very little evidence to go on.
There had to have been foul play.
The mystery has received a lot of attention.
You go on the internet, you search Brianna Maitland, just the information that comes up is just an obscene amount of information.
And that means there's a lot for Baker to sift through.
Anyone can write a blog and anyone can write information about this case.
Assistant professor of cybersecurity at Champlain College says the veracity of information on the internet can often be used as a tool for investigators, but it can sometimes make it more challenging to determine fact from fiction. He says certain algorithms can help, but still, these things take time.
Can I plug in keywords that only someone who was pretty intimate with what was going on would know about, or they made a statement about something that was not made public?
Baker says despite the attention surrounding this case, she receives new leads every day and follows up on each one of them. She's urging anyone with information to come forward.
What do you think is going to be the key to solving this?
I think it's going to be that one person that knows what happened.
As for Brianna's dad, Bruce, he's supporting other families who are also looking for their loved ones through his own private investigation foundation, and he's still hoping time will lead him to Brianna.
Sometimes time is your friend too. You know, people change, get older, circumstances change, and maybe that somebody that knows something that wouldn't come forward years ago may come forward now.
In Montgomery, Zuri Hoffman, NBC5 News.
All right, so there's that, guys, and like I said, I At one point when I started reading into this, I thought maybe the boyfriend. Then when I found, of course, with this information coming in about the drug dealers and stuff, I'm like, oh, ooh, you know what I mean? So I was definitely curious. Oh my God, where'd that pop up in here for? Weird. I haven't seen that in a long time. Hold on here. Give me a minute. There is other speculative theory and some other things about this that have been put out. There's quite a bit actually. I personally am leaning way more towards the drug dealing side of this because of how these things went down. This man took his own life. There's a lot to that. That's my thought. And my thought is, hold on.
Today marks 20.
This was put up last March of last year, March 19th. So we're going on 21 years on the 19th of this month, you guys. Okay. So this is probably the newest update with this case. Sorry. Here we go.
Today marks 20 years since the disappearance of Brianna Maitland in northern Vermont, and there is now a new reward being offered to anyone who can help find her. FBI agents and Vermont State Police say they are willing to pay up to $40,000 for any information that leads to her recovery. ABC 22's Matt Holderman live tonight at the State Police Barracks in Williston, where that announcement was made earlier. What exactly did these officials say when it comes to this case, Matt?
Yeah, Lauren, well, this reward, which is listed on this missing persons flyer right here, is now by far the biggest in the history of this case, and it is being entirely funded by the FBI. They hope that the size of this reward is big enough to incentivize people to come forward with never before heard information in this case that helps them and helps VSP find Brianna Maitland after all these years.
We will not rest until we help our partners at the Vermont State Police bring her home.
On the 20-year anniversary of Brianna Maitland's disappearance, state and federal investigators are doubling down on their efforts to find her by offering a paycheck greater than what some people make in an entire year.
The FBI is offering a reward of up to $40,000 for information leading to the recovery of Brianna Maitland.
$40,000 for any new information that brings Brianna home, although police do expect this announcement to result in a lot of people sharing repeat info with them. To recap some of the basics we do know so far, Brianna was last seen in Montgomery on March 19, 2004, when she was 17 years old. She clocked out of her job at the Black Lantern Inn around 11:20 at night and drove away in her 1985 Oldsmobile 88 on her way to go spend the night with a friend in Sheldon. But not long after, her car was found backed into an abandoned building just about a mile up Route 118 in East Berkshire, and she's been missing ever since. After 2 decades of putting this puzzling case together, investigators have collected evidence and identified numerous persons of interest, but say they're still missing a few pieces.
Someone out there may have information that can help solve this case. It's been too long, and it's time to come forward.
Although state police haven't announced any progress on the search since 2022, they're not calling this a cold case and say the FBI now offering this reward could be their biggest break in a while. That's because they expect any new answers to come from people rather than material evidence, as they've already ran tests on the physical clues they've found.
It's not a huge technology case, quite honestly. There's so many leads, and they're so different in leads, and it comes down to good old-fashioned interviewing people and getting the right, accurate information.
And I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you where you can submit information to help in this case if you have any. One option is the FBI's tip line. That is 1-800-CALL-FBI, and numerically that is 1-800-225-5324. You can also call the Vermont State Police tip line at 1-844-84-VTIPS, and numerically that is 1-844-848-8477. Now, if you missed those numbers when I just said them there, you can find them in this story on our website, mychamplainvalley.com. For now, reporting live in Williston, Matt Holderman, ABC 22 News.
So there is that part of that too, you guys. Also, one moment here. One moment here. I'm sorry. Hold on. I wanted to run a bit of this for you guys as well. Bear with me. Sorry. All right, here we go.
That was 17 years ago. Saw Brianna Maitland was March 19th, 2004. That was 17 years ago.
Okay, hopefully the audio is
I
okay.
think that the answer lies somewhere, and I think that we just haven't either asked the right question or we haven't asked the right person yet.
On a chilly evening in March 2004, 17-year-old Brianna Maitland finished her shift at the Black Lantern Inn in Montgomery, Vermont. She clocked out, said her goodbyes to co-workers, and headed to her car, looking forward to a well-deserved night of rest. However, Brianna would never make it home. The next day, her car was discovered crashed into an abandoned house less than 1 mile away from her workplace. Inside the vehicle, her personal belongings were found undisturbed, including her wallet, cell phone, and driver's license. In a tragic turn of events, Brianna was not reported missing for 5 days due to police mishaps and a terrible twist of fate. Her friends and family, and indeed the world, have been left wondering, what happened to Brianna Maitland? Vermont, the Green Mountain State, stands as a shining gem in the picturesque tapestry of New England. With a rich history that dates back to the 18th century, Vermont has become synonymous with breathtaking landscapes, quaint small towns, and a relaxed way of life. Nestled between New York, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, and the Canadian province of Quebec, Vermont is the second smallest state by population, with approximately 643,000 residents. It enjoys a reputation for safety and low levels of criminal activity. According to the FBI's Uniform Crime Reporting Program, Vermont consistently ranks among the states with the lowest crime rates in the nation. Property crime rates are notably low, as are incidents of violent crime. The strong sense of community, coupled with an effective law enforcement presence, contributes to the overall safety experienced by Vermont's residents. Brianna Maitland, a vibrant and ambitious young woman, was born on October 8, 1986, in Burlington, Vermont. Growing up in a loving family, she was the daughter of Bruce and Kelly Maitland. Brianna had one sibling, a brother with whom she shared a close bond. The Maitland family was well respected within their community, and their loving and supportive environment provided a nurturing foundation for Brianna as she grew up. Brianna's personality was a delightful mix of determination, empathy, and curiosity. Her infectious smile and warm presence brightened the lives of those around her. She was known for her empathetic nature, always extending a helping hand to friends and family in need. Her love for animals was evident, as she often cared for stray and injured creatures, nurturing them back to health. Academically, Brianna was a diligent student who showed promise in her studies. She had a particular affinity for art and displayed a natural talent for painting and drawing. Her creative expressions were a testament to her keen eye for detail and her ability to capture the essence of her subjects. As she grew older, her aspirations began to take shape, with dreams of pursuing a career in the arts or a related field. In her teenage years, Brianna demonstrated an adventurous spirit, embracing the opportunity to experience new things and explore her surroundings. She enjoyed the outdoors and reveled in the breathtaking beauty of her home state. Brianna was also drawn to social events and cherished the time spent with her close circle of friends. Her outgoing nature allowed her to form lasting connections with those she met. As Brianna began to carve her path in life, she was committed to pursuing her dreams and living a life filled with passion and purpose. Her family stood firmly behind her, offering unwavering support and encouragement as she embarked on her journey. Brianna Maitland's story is one of a young woman filled with potential, warmth, and an unwavering drive to succeed, forever leaving an indelible mark on the hearts of those who knew her. On October 8, 2003, Brianna turned 17 and made a bold decision. Despite her parents' disapproval, she left her family's farmhouse in Franklin to start a new chapter in her life. Brianna chose to move in with her close friend, Katie Manning, in Enosburg. Brianna had always struggled to fit in at Missisquoi Valley Union High School, which was the district her family's farm belonged to.
By the way, I'm showing you this, guys. I know you guys are hearing stuff you already know, because there's some other pieces of info in here that weren't in the other. And you know how we kind of sometimes we'll watch the same thing, but pick up some new stuff. That's why we're doing it. It's nowhere near as long as the other one was, so don't worry. And we're probably not going to watch the whole thing. I just wanted to get some other stuff in here to you guys to see. That's all.
Eager for a fresh start, she enrolled at Enosburg Falls High School. This change brought her closer to her friends, including Katie, Megan Jefferson, Keely Lacrosse, Sydney Kuhn, and Hillary.
So there is Keely Lacrosse. This is the other girl I was just telling you that works for the drug dealer, the one that beat her up because she cheated with her boyfriend. This group right here, from my understanding, we're all very close to these drug dealers. This is why one of the reasons why I'm showing you this whole group of her friends, including the girl that she stayed with, Manning. Okay. And when she cheated with her boyfriend here, that Katie girl kicked her out of the house. So there's some curiosities here as to who's friends with her and actually friends with her and not, and who's just stating that they were her friend, maybe hiding things possibly. Okay, Mama Bear. So there's that as well. But I just wanted to give that little bit of insight into this as well, you guys.
Robitaille. Now, surrounded by her closest companions, Brianna looked forward to embracing her new life and the opportunities it would bring. As the months passed, however, Brianna found herself drifting away from her circle of friends. By February, her situation had become increasingly isolating, and she even resorted to living out of her car in the frigid northern Vermont temperatures. This unstable living situation began to take a toll on Brianna's academic performance. Despite her intelligence and history of being an excellent student, the hardships she faced in early February of 2004 proved too much to bear. Ultimately, Brianna was forced to make the difficult decision to drop out of high school. One evening, Brianna attended a party with her boyfriend. There, she found herself in a heated argument with a former friend, Keely Lacrosse. Wanting to avoid any physical confrontation, Brianna chose to leave the party early. As she waited for her boyfriend in his truck, however, Keely approached and confronted her. I said, "Bri, are you gonna come out and fight?" Then I punched her. "Come on, let's go, let's fight." I punched her again. Her head was down and she was crying. I said, "You're not worth it." James then came out from the party and yelled, "Keely, what the f*** did you do?" I said she had it coming. The situation escalated quickly, and Keely struck Brianna multiple times through the open window. This violent encounter left Brianna with a broken nose and a concussion, requiring immediate medical treatment. In the aftermath of the incident, Brianna decided to press charges against Keely for the unprovoked attack.
Now, let's stop there for a quick second. I didn't think much of Keely, being a high school kid, doing anything to her over a fight, until I realized who Keely knew and who Keely was close to, and at some point who Keely ended up working for. If she's close to this drug dealer guy, she works for this drug dealer guy. then I'm thinking differently. Maybe that is partly what it is, because we don't know. Maybe Keely was working with or for this drug dealer guy even back then, or started to, or something. Okay. And with police getting involved in a situation, charges being filed, people might get nervous that they're going to start looking at the wrong people. Okay. I get it, Alicia. I get it. And, so on and so forth. So I don't know. There are some possibilities here. I know one thing. I'm looking at this Keely girl and the drug dealer situation pretty hardcore. Not so much James, but the girl and who she was close with. So more than the boyfriend. That's just my opinion.
Early in the morning on Friday, the 19th of March, 2004, Brianna awoke with a renewed sense of purpose. Her mother arrived to pick her up, and together they went out for breakfast before Brianna's important day. She was scheduled to take her high school equivalency exam, a major milestone after having to withdraw from high school the previous year. In addition to this accomplishment, Brianna had recently secured 2 part-time restaurants.
Because at some point, Raquel, she did choose and decided to go file charges on her. And there was a court date set for this. And before Keely could, before Brianna could get to court, she disappeared. So I'm curious now. You know what I mean? I'm curious now. Is there a relationship there with those situations? Maybe. I don't know, but it's just a curiosity. I'm just saying. I'm questioning that situation again. Right. There's that. But if Keely, I don't know how you say it. I think it's Keely. If she's close to this drug dealer person and so on and so forth, it's possible that they said, hey, she's about to put me in jail for simple assault or something like this, and they're like, oh, we'll handle it. Maybe, or they're worried that if this gets into an investigation into this girl, that other people are going to pop up as being involved in other things, maybe. So they have to shut this down. You know what I'm saying? Knowing that if Brianna disappears, those charges are thrown out, which is what happened, sadly. I still think she should have been charged, but whatever. But the charges were thrown out. That case is closed. Moving on. Here we go. So, and that's very sad, but yeah. Like Eddie's saying, avoid civil and criminal suits, both possible. Yes. And that's why I side-eyed that situation earlier. I got you, SRB. I get it. And you and Alicia both have very good points. Oh yeah, you guys can pop on over and visit Mama Bear too, if you will, please and thank you, just to say hi. He gets lonely over there sometimes. And I know it probably smells better over there. I've said that before, so you guys can do that. No, you don't have to stay in here. You can stay over there, whatever. Yeah, we're good over there. You can stay over there, SRB. Like I said, I'm good here. She would be the first suspect due to her disappearance. That's my opinion too, Raquel. That and or finding out that she was close to Ramon and Nate, the 2 drug dealers, gave me a little bit of like, okay, hold on here. Not to mention they murdered another woman, okay? And the other guy that was involved as well took his own life. Knowing when they were starting to approach, police were going to approach, he takes his own life. It's obvious that he knew he was going to prison for something, in my opinion. So, oh, Mama Bear's gone. Her connection broke. Hold on. I can't put you back up, Bear, because it doesn't show your link on your little box here.
Jobs, and she had plans to attend college. From all outward appearances,
it says you need to reconnect your microphone and your camera.
Decisions for her future. Upon successfully passing her exam, Brianna and her mother decided to celebrate by going clothes shopping. Brianna needed a pair of black pants to comply with the dress code at her new job at KJ's Diner. While waiting in line to check out,
she does. She said she was going to be
Brianna
dropping
excused
down,
herself,
but she said she was
telling her
leaving
mother
it up.
she'd be right
I don't
back.
know. Maybe she
She
accidentally
then
did. That's
disappeared
okay,
from
though.
her mother's
Either
view
way.
for a brief moment. When they reunited at the car, Brianna's demeanor had
better be nice
noticeably
to your mom,
shifted.
Cass.
She appeared agitated and guarded, but neither she nor her mother addressed the sudden change. Instead, her mother chose to respect the privacy of her increasingly independent daughter.
Okay, as long as it's still up, that's what I want for her.
Mood change remains
Thank you,
a point of
SRB.
speculation and conjecture. At 11:20 p.m., Brianna clocked out from her new job as a dishwasher at the Black Lantern Inn, located in Montgomery, Vermont. Although her co-workers had extended an invitation to join them for a post-shift meal, she opted to decline, feeling exhausted. With the anticipation of her first day as a waitress at KJ's Diner looming, she knew a good night's rest was in order, preparing for the long day that lay ahead. Somewhere between 11:30 p.m. and 12:30 a.m., a man driving along Route 118 noticed Brianna's green sedan parked peculiarly at the abandoned Dutchburn farmhouse. The car was backed in at an unusual angle, and he recalled that its headlights might have been switched on. Between midnight and 12:30 a.m., another man noticed the car in the same peculiar position, and he recollected that a turn signal might have been blinking at the time. In the early hours of March 20th, Brianna's ex-boyfriend, James Robitaille, passed by the site and identified the vehicle as Brianna's. His accounts regarding the time of the sighting and the reason for his presence in the area have been inconsistent. However, the currently accepted version of events is that he drove by the Dutchburn house around 2:30 a.m. and stopped upon recognizing the car. He stated that nobody was nearby, but the headlights were on, and both the driver's and passenger's side doors were open. James proceeded to switch off the lights, close the doors, and continue on his way. He had been drinking that night and was concerned about getting into trouble, but is this the whole truth? James came across the car of someone he knows very well in the most peculiar situation late at night.
Okay, so this is another reason why I want you guys to see. This is how close this was to the road. It's very visible, okay? Very visible. You can't miss this. I'm just saying, you can't miss it. It has a big car sticking out like a sore thumb. And it was backed right there into the side of that building. That's an old house. So that says a lot to me.
Headlights were on and the doors were wide open. Clearly concerned, James pulled over to examine the scene and even took it upon himself to restore some order to the car. Yet, despite his concern, James chose not to contact Brianna.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to tell you from what I understand, SRB. Oh, a little too far. My understanding is she was coming from this direction, this way. Okay. That's my understanding. If she was traveling, she'd have been going from this direction up here, coming this way. So, welcome, Sunday. Great to see you today. I hope you're having a great day, and thank you for joining us. I do agree. James's story is very strange. Stopping and seeing both doors open, the headlights on, and turning, closing. I have to go. Okay, I guess I do question him. I definitely do. Maybe they were all involved. You know, maybe Keely and James got back together after the fact. I don't know what's going on in the background because kids are nasty, you know what I mean? So the thing with the car was her tat spun out, or someone put it there. That's a good point. You know, was the car spun out or did it happen that way? But you know, with the lights on, the doors open, it's very strange either way. I do have questions, I'll be honest with you.
Clearly concerned, James pulled over to examine the scene and even took it upon himself to restore some order to the car. Yet, despite his concern, James chose not to contact Brianna or report the incident to the police the following morning. One can't help but wonder about his rationale for not reaching out to anyone at all.
That's my question. Why did you not call her and say, hey, girl, what's up with the car? Where you at? You all right? What's up? And they found her busted necklace on the ground next to the car. There was a lime wedge that was left there. The windshield was shattered. That's some strange stuff. Okay, period. That's all I can tell you. Well, they said the windshield was shattered. It doesn't look shattered here, unless it was the back window. And if it's a back window, it could be from backing into the house, in my opinion. So
Later that morning, a group of hikers traveling along Route 118 came across the abandoned Oldsmobile, finding the scene unusual enough to warrant stopping. They pulled over, got out of their vehicle, and stared at the eerie sight before them. They took photos, which have since become the only publicly accessible images of the crash site. One of the photographers noticed loose change, a water bottle, and a broken necklace, later confirmed to belong to Brianna, lying on the ground beside the driver's side of the vehicle. On March 20th at 1:22 p.m., a Vermont state trooper was dispatched to the Dutchburn house. Upon arrival, he noticed some personal items inside the Oldsmobile, including 2 paychecks from the Black Lantern Inn addressed to Brianna Maitland. However, the trooper did not find anything he deemed suspicious. He concluded that the car was likely left behind by a drunk driver, a situation that was relatively common and not necessarily alarming. He gathered the scattered belongings from the ground and placed them inside the vehicle. The trooper then headed to the Black Lantern, intending to interview the staff about the abandoned car, but found the restaurant closed. He noted the vehicle's tag number and continued with his day. The car was eventually towed to a local automotive shop. The officer never ran the plates, and it is rumored that he left for a short vacation the next day. Gillian Stout had spent the weekend at her grandparents' house and was unaware that Brianna hadn't returned home until she saw the untouched note on Monday.
Thank you, Molly, and I'm
Tuesday,
sorry,
March
Tomboy, I
23rd,
didn't see
Gillian
it.
contacted Brianna's mother, Kelly, and after comparing their information, they quickly realized that Brianna's whereabouts were unknown. In an attempt to locate her daughter, Kelly reached out to everyone she could think of, but no one had seen or heard from Brianna. She informed Brianna's father, Bruce, who was in New York on business. Growing increasingly concerned for their daughter's safety, Bruce drove through the night to return to Vermont.
Maitland was last seen leaving work in Montgomery, Vermont. She was a dishwasher at the Black Lantern Inn, and she was 17 at the time.
It was an upscale bed and breakfast at that time in a ski town. It wasn't a noisy bar that people were hanging out at. It was an upscale bed and breakfast. So she remained in the back of the restaurant for the most part doing the dishes.
Maitland clocked out around 11:20 p.m. and drove off in her 1985 Oldsmobile. That car would later be found backed up into an abandoned building just a mile away off of Route 118.
That's the main route up there. That's how she would have gone back to 105 to get back to Sheldon.
Brianna Maitland was supposed to go to Sheldon, Vermont, where she was staying with a childhood friend, Gillian Stout. She left a note saying she would be back that night, but Brianna never came back. Stout was out of town and didn't see the note until a few days later.
The car was reported the next day by someone who lived in the area as being backed into the barn. So a trooper responds up to that area, sees the vehicle. For anybody who knows this area, vehicle abandoned on the side of the road is not unusual. So the trooper looked into the vehicle, saw that there were paychecks in there with Brianna's name on it from the Black Lantern. He went up to the Black Lantern, but it was closed at the time, so he wasn't able to make contact with anyone. And the car was eventually towed from that location.
After Stout contacted the Maitlands, they all realized something was wrong. No one had seen or heard from Brianna, and that's when she was reported missing.
On March 25th, 2004, Bruce and Kelly provided the Vermont State Police with photographs of their missing daughter, Brianna. There were no signs of a violent confrontation at the scene where her car was discovered, and the police were initially doubtful that foul play had occurred and considered the possibility that Brianna had run away. Despite their skepticism, the authorities initiated a search, which included officers and search dogs scouring the area around the barn on foot. However, nothing of significance was uncovered. A search inside the house revealed drug-dealing paraphernalia and a firearm. At the time she vanished, Brianna had been taking medication for migraines. Her medication, contact lenses, clothing, makeup, and driver's license were all left behind in the car. This led investigators to believe that she either planned to return to the vehicle or had not left it voluntarily. A few days later, on March 30th, 2004, the Vermont State Crime Lab processed Brianna's Oldsmobile. Although there were no signs of a struggle or foul play, it was later disclosed that DNA had been discovered. Shortly after, investigators concluded that Brianna's disappearance likely resulted from an involuntary event. Several witnesses came forward, claiming to have seen Brianna's car on the night of her disappearance. One individual, who passed by the barn between 11:30 p.m. and 12:30 a.m., mentioned seeing headlights but did not observe anyone in or around the Oldsmobile. Another witness stated that he saw the turn signal flashing between midnight and 12:30 a.m. that same night. Brianna's ex-boyfriend, returning from a party across the Canadian border, spotted the car around 4 a.m., but like the first witness, he did not see anyone with it. The following morning, multiple motorists noticed the peculiar scene, with some even stopping to take photographs. One person reported seeing loose change, a bracelet or necklace, and a water bottle on the ground next to the vehicle. Over the years, numerous official searches have been conducted to locate Brianna. Divers have searched a Berkshire pond, while police have combed local wooded areas and the vicinity around Hutchins Bridge with cadaver dogs. A court inquest took place, and Border Patrol officers even employed a helicopter to cover more ground. The searches involved officers from 3 states and members of Texas EquuSearch, a team of search and recovery experts. Brianna's friends and family carried out their own searches in the area and distributed missing persons flyers throughout Vermont and neighboring states. Her parents actively pursued leads across Vermont, New York, Quebec, and Connecticut. They even visited a strip club in Boston after receiving a tip that Brianna was seen there, only to discover it was a case of mistaken identity. Four weeks after Brianna's disappearance, her father, Bruce Maitland, received an anonymous tip. He was informed that his daughter was being held captive in a farmhouse on Reservoir Road in Berkshire, about 10 miles from the Dutchburn house. 2 individuals, Ramon Ryans and Nathaniel Charles Jackson, who rented and lived in the home, were implicated in the disappearance. Bruce urged the Vermont State Police to search the property, even expressing his readiness to assemble a group to do it himself if necessary. The Vermont State Police, along with U.S. Fish and Wildlife agents and U.S. Border Patrol agents, eventually raided the residence. However, Brianna was not found there, and both Ryans and Jackson.
And my problem with this now, you just heard him say it. Eventually, they raided the house. It only takes minutes to take somebody from a house and take them somewhere else. So who's to say she wasn't there? We don't know that. You know what I mean? Depending on how long it took them. I'd like to know the exact amount of time it took them to go from getting the tip to going into the house. Because it sounds to me like days, maybe weeks, possibly. Who knows? But at that point, she very well could have been taken and put somewhere else or harmed or whatever at some points. Okay. Big time ball drops here, in my opinion. Yes, SRB, big time. There was DNA found on the vehicle. It does not belong to anybody that was there, though. They proved that.
Jackson denied any knowledge of her whereabouts. In May 2004, the Maitlands joined forces with the parents of Maura Murray, a woman who went missing in Haverhill, New Hampshire in February 2004, and the family of Amy Riley, a 20-year-old New Hampshire woman whose murdered body was found in April of that year. They collectively appealed for assistance from public and federal authorities. At the time, it was believed that the 3 cases were connected, prompting the families to request the involvement of the FBI, as the cases crossed state lines. The case went cold for a couple of years.
And Amy's case is another one I'll be doing too. I've already started looking into that, by the way, so be prepared for that.
Years after that, but in 2006, security footage at the Caesars World Casino in Atlantic City, New Jersey, showed a woman resembling Brianna sitting at a poker table and brought with it renewed hope. Unfortunately, the woman was never properly identified, and as quickly as the hope arrived, it disappeared.
I don't think it was her.
In March 2010, the Vermont State Police resumed their search for Brianna Maitland, following a tip they received. 24 searchers, accompanied by 2 cadaver search dogs from Connecticut, combed through a Richford gravel pit and surrounding woodland, roughly 3 miles from where her car had been found. Brianna's father, Bruce Maitland, assisted the search teams that day, but they were unable to find any evidence, and once again the case went cold for 8 years until...
New information tonight about the disappearance of a Franklin County teenager who was last seen 18 years ago.
Adam Sullivan joins us live now from our Upper Valley Bureau with the details. Adam.
Kat, police say thanks to advanced forensic technology, they have found a DNA match in the disappearance of Brianna Maitland. Brianna Maitland was last seen on the evening of March 19, 2004, leaving her job in Montgomery. The next day, her 1985 Oldsmobile was located backed into an abandoned building known as the Old Dutchburn Barn, about a mile from the restaurant where she worked. Police searched the area and collected an item of interest on the ground in the vicinity of where the 17-year-old's car was found.
Cap, you might have to go out and come back in and get it to reset. Sometimes I have to do that, sadly.
Originally, no matches were identified, but after a Texas lab re-examined the DNA evidence, police say they got a match.
This DNA revelation would not be the golden ticket Brianna's family were hoping for, as Vermont police would soon release the following statement. The 11 individuals that we compared the DNA to were persons of interest. That is how we identified them throughout the investigation in the course of the last 18 years. It was DNA that we had collected in the course of the investigation. We have conducted our due diligence right now, and that person has been very cooperative and spoken to us. So at this time, it is just an active, ongoing investigation to figure out what our next steps are. As we reach the end of our journey into the mysterious disappearance of Brianna Maitland, it's important to acknowledge the impact this case has had on her family, friends, and the broader community. Over the years, the relentless pursuit of answers by those who knew and loved her has become a testament to the human spirit's resilience and determination.
That's where I'm at, Stormy. I'm leaning more towards the drug dealer situation, but I'm still not convinced that the drug dealer and Kylie LaCrosse and the boyfriend may not all be linked together in some form. I truly don't think that that's such a big thing to think. It's very possible to me. I'll just put it that way. I'm just saying, I really, truly feel that that could be all be linked together, and that could be the answer, in my opinion.
Years ago, a 17-year-old went missing from her hometown. The disappearance of Brianna Maitland has haunted her family, police, and the Montgomery community ever since.
There's Brianna there again.
Bruce Maitland sifting through family photo albums.
She was a character, witty and generally very happy.
He's told this story over and over.
It's a lot of sadness.
But he's hoping that by keeping the story of his daughter Brianna's disappearance alive, they can find her.
In some ways, it seems like it just happened, and some days it's like it's been a long time.
StreamYard's bugging, folks.
Private investigators, family, friends, and online communities have kept Brianna's story alive, encouraging more witnesses and information to come forward. The power of collective awareness and collaboration cannot be underestimated when it comes to helping solve.
And I'm not disagreeing with you, Stormy. What I'm saying is I think what you're saying, what SRB mentioned, and what I was thinking of, that I think it could be all linked together. The boyfriend, the girl that beat her up, the drug dealers, all of them, I think, are linked somehow, and I think it all comes back to her. That's my opinion on it, with the charges and all that. Yes, I agree with you on that.
Cases like this. Let us not forget that Brianna Maitland was a bright, beautiful, and ambitious young woman with a whole life ahead of her. We must remember that the search for the truth is not just about solving a mystery. It's about honoring Brianna's memory and seeking justice for her and her loved ones. As with any unsolved case, we urge anyone who may have any information on Brianna Maitland's disappearance to come forward and contact the Vermont State Police or your local law enforcement agency. You can also submit anonymous tips to the appropriate organizations. Until the day when the truth is finally uncovered, we will continue to search, hope, and remember.
You're missing less than you are missed. Not missing, but still to be found. There is a hole in everyone.
And it really sucks. She's a very, very, very pretty young lady. She had her life ahead of her. She's very independent, very smart. Sometimes you surround yourself with the wrong people, you guys, and it just, it's just not a good thing, sadly. It's a very sad situation to me. So hopefully something, for Bruce's sake, you know, and Bruce and Kelly both, the parents, hopefully something happens. I hope. Hopefully us putting this out, maybe it draws somebody's attention to it. I don't know. Maybe it changes something. Anybody could get a tip and say, oh my God, I know who that is. I saw her. I remember something now. That's all it takes sometimes, you guys. It's all it takes. There it is, guys. There's our cold case for today. Miss Brianna Maitland. I'm planning on being back in here later this afternoon for anybody interested on jumping back in with us. I look forward to seeing you. I hope you guys do. Until then, I hope you guys have an amazing day. I want to thank Mom Bear for joining me today. I want to thank everybody else for joining us today. It was amazing to have you all here. As always, this is a really interesting case, in my opinion, and I really would like to see some answers to this. This one, really, I have almost the same feeling I have with this one as I do with Maura's case. They both bugged the hell out of me. That's a fact. So I hope you all have an amazing rest of your day so far, and I hope that when I do decide to pop back in here later, that you guys will decide to join me. It's always a good time when we're all here. And don't forget to love yourselves and love each other. Please, please, if you have not yet, please hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss nothing we do. Please share this out, and please hit the like button. And if you have not yet, please make sure to pop over and hit the like button with Mama Bear as well. Other than that, don't change a thing, guys. You guys are the beautiful people, and I will see you guys very soon. Bye-bye, y'all.
Typing at the speed of light, hunting down the shadows, bringing wrongs to right, digging deep in the data, facts sharp as a knife. With every single story, he's fighting for a life. A voice for the voiceless, he won't stay quiet. Daniel's got the fire igniting the fight. True crime revelation shining through the night. With every victim story, he pulls at the strings. A hero in the darkness, hear the truth he brings. Streaming loud and clear, cracking cases, open hearts filled with fear. His channel's a beacon in a world gone wrong. He guides us through the chaos, a soldier so strong. The clicks and the likes, they follow his lead. With every new case, he plants a new seed. Sharing their stories, giving hope where it fades. Daniel's a warrior through the trials he waits. In a world of silence, he shouts out their names. Daniel's got the fire igniting the fight. True crime revelation shining through the night. With every victim story, he pulls at the strings. A hero in the darkness, hear the truth he brings. From the shadows you rise, a streaming loud and clear. True crime revelation shining through the night. With every victim story, he pulls at the strings. A hero in the darkness, hear the truth. Crime revelation shining through the night. With every victim story he pulls after